manager is a fucking snitch, terrorist, rat. And that's it. I could go into heavy detail, and I will go into heavy detail. He was pulled off of a flight going from Cairo, Egypt to New York City on September 11, 2001. He was caught with 5 passports in his possession. He turned informant and turned on the people that he was working with. He is I don't even know how that man is in this fucking country. We're all facing, I'm sure everyone here, the Irish people, are facing all this immigration stuff on the way over. My own people are facing it, my family. It's getting stopped at the airport and this and that. And then you've got this man with such a crazy background, Ali Abdelaziz. And he's rocking around free. It begs belief, to be honest, but hey, don't ever take information from an informant, and that's what that man is doing. He's a rat bastard, and I'm gonna get him on Saturday night.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast that each week lets you know the shows you should catch, skip, and can't miss, as well as we try and check out some new MMA podcasts. I am Pulver, and I am back with my co-host, Chris Madaffer. What up, dude?
Man, this is just, I mean, I can't explain how hyped I am, really, just for this card tomorrow.
It is gonna be wild as shit.
Like, this is like, you know how there's every calendar year there's like one card that's the big one. I mean, it just can't not be this one, clearly. You know.
Definitely, and yeah. And thank God we're recording this on Friday. Everybody made weight. It's a miracle.
Yeah, I saw that when I was at work today. And I'm like, thank fucking God.
Yeah,
you know?
I think we can thank Two Straws for that, because they did do like a whole seance to make sure they didn't curse the card this time.
Yeah, well, thank you, Angie Hill, and thank you, Jessica Penne.
Yeah,
we appreciate your pre-fight card rituals.
100%.
Demonic sayings.
For sure. Well, before we get into our picks for the shows you guys should check out, normally we do our Papa Vodka presents, Doug Stanhope presents our sponsors. However, it's Sober October, so I am drinking tomorrow, but I'm not drinking tonight. So I'm just drinking fucking Monster because I didn't have time to pick up coffee. So I'm doing nothing special, but I heard you're drinking something good tonight.
Yes, I am. I am drinking Firestone Walker IPA. It's called Luponic Distortion. It's how would I describe it? The flavor profile that they list on there, they have hints of mango creamsicle, peach ring, as in the candy, the gummy candy, and ruby red grapefruit. And it is fantastic. Very, very flavorful. None of the notes too overpowering each other. It's a solid IPA. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I've had it in the past. I think that's their series where they swap out hops, if I remember right.
Yeah, it mentioned something about that. I didn't read too much on the can because I was, as a pure alcoholic does, I was like, oh, that looks tasty, and I just started slamming them last night. So
like a professional.
I'm drinking it out of, coincidentally, after work today, I went to Karl Strauss in La Jolla, the brewery itself, and they had an Oktoberfest deal where you get a liter, if you buy their Oktoberfest beer, you can get a liter of the Oktoberfest in a fucking liter ceramic mug. It's a liter, what is that, like 32, 34 ounces, something like that.
Something like that.
So I poured 24 ounces, so 2 cans of this beer, into this giant ceramic Karl Strauss mug after I held it in the freezer for about 20 minutes, and yeah, it's a pretty badass looking mug. It says party like it's 1810, it has the Karl Strauss Brewing logo with, it looks like some sort of lion on it. It's actually kind of reminds me of Mike Hess. You know how they like those animal designs?
For sure.
Similar to that.
That's what's up, dude. Well, yeah, I am excited to be back to drinking for a whole one day of October tomorrow, which I am going to be pounding some proper whiskey, even though they are not a sponsor of this show and it's not good whiskey. Shouts to fucking Chuck Mendenhall, who yelled at us on Twitter this week. Fucking, I haven't told you about that yet, right?
So, is he a shill for the whiskey, or was he...
Thank you. That's exactly what I tweeted, is because he did an episode of the MMA Beat, And so he pulled out the same bottle he posted a picture of on his Twitter, and Luke Thomas was like, "Oh, Chuck, you got this, right? Where'd you get this?" He real shady, like, Chuck Mendenhall's like, it was given to me. And then Luke Thomas, of course, is like, okay, we'll just keep on moving on, I guess. So I tweeted out, "Oh, we're just going to pretend this isn't an ad," and even though he said he was given the bottle on a podcast. And Chuck Mendenhall tweeted us back saying something along the lines of, "Do you kiss your mother with those accusations or insinuations," or something real fucking smarmy and shitty. So fuck that guy. But I did get clarification. It was given to him by his friend. So I don't know why he wouldn't just say that instead of being weird.
You might as well have just said, "No, I kissed your mother after drinking some real whiskey, and then I vomited back into her mouth."
Right.
Just offend him even more. Or just something insane.
Yeah, Chuck Mendenhall is, he's a smarmy cunt, and that's fine. He can go hang out on his own fucking island.
Hey, can you say that he's a proper cunt?
No, I'd say he's an improper cunt.
Or excuse me, what was McGregor calling Khabib? A mad cunt. No, how about this? A terrorist snitch rat. Also known as Ali Abdelaziz. Thank you, Connor.
That's right.
That's my shout out. That was fantastic. I'm glad Connor said that. That was great.
Did you hear the press conference on Thursday?
Oh, I saw about 30 minutes of it, and how Khabib is like, "All right, guys, thank you, bye."
Did you see the part where Connor, actually it was our intro that you guys just heard, the part where Connor goes, "Oh, I could say a whole bunch about Ali Abdelaziz, and I will. He was on a plane during 9/11 from Egypt to New York, and he had 5 passports on him." And he basically listed off the entire Mike Russell story, which was fucking fantastic. So
the irony of this card, yes, we have talked down on McGregor as far as it was made. I've always liked McGregor as far as who I thought he was before the Dolly incident. The Dolly incident just kind of proved he's just too coked up, and he's just kind of a little hyped for his little T-Rex buddy Artem.
Well, however, and the fucking New York press conference where he was on tons of blow.
Yeah. In any sense, I've gotten a little bit more kind of props back towards him. He's won me over a little bit with the whole throwing shade to Ali. So thank you, Conor McGregor, for kind of bringing that to light. Because if there's anyone on any sort of pedestal or podium that could really bring it to light, it's him. Literally, he's the biggest fucking star. So thank you, Conor McGregor.
100%. I heard Ali had to turn his comments off on his Instagram.
Yeah, he did. And another fighter who's represented by Ali, Cody Garbrandt, just came back on social media, and he has his comments permanently deleted because he can't take shade from fans.
Probably a good call if you're a fighter not to have your comments available.
Oh, and another person, coincidentally, who censors his comments, and this has been proven, is Johnny Boney Jonies, as Eugene S. Robinson would say. So, good on you, John the Snitch, for ironically limiting your comments.
That's right. Speaking of people with terrible managers.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we get off the topic of crazy managers and sketchy-ass people in the sport, and we will go ahead and get into format. Why don't you start us off with the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week?
So, my first catch is Fights Gone By with Jack Slack. I didn't write too many notes on this.
100th episode, right? Or is it 101?
Oh, fuck, what was it?
It's one of those.
I thought he's...
Anyway.
It might have been
101.
He usually goes, "How's it going, everybody?" Literally, like that's usually how he starts. And so this time he goes, "How's Noah, everybody?" Really fast, which is pretty great. He said, as far as how often Conor fights, he fights once and then leaves for like a year or two. So he said, regardless of the outcome, even if Conor wins, don't expect him to come back soon. I was like, yeah, that's actually very true.
100%.
He mainly discusses, as far as the approach to fight, Conor's kicks, straight line kicks to the body. He thinks Conor's going to limit his kicks as far as what he traditionally does. You're not going to really expect to see any spinning shit as far as like wheel kicks or any capoeira kind of stuff. I know some of that's pretty flashy to throw his opponents off, but based on who he's fighting against, a grappler, you don't expect to see any kicks that are over extravagant. You know what I mean? He talked about Khabib's proclaimed amateurish striking. He didn't really call it amateurish. He was kind of citing that from other, I guess you could really say Joe Rogan, right? As far as that commentary was. What was that, a couple months ago? Or I can't remember when Khabib fought last. Was it March? Anyways, he gave credit to Khabib. He says he does a nice shoulder roll. It has a fantastic jab. He was talking about the most effective way to stop punches is with your bicep. Because when you stop with the bicep, it kind of disrupts that flow. And then if you're a grappler or a clinch fighter, you can almost get that underhook immediately to disrupt the flow of the punching, which I thought was a fair point. And it reminded me of another analyst who I'll mention later, Dominic Cruz, and what he had to say about the fight. Because that guy loves underhooks.
Yeah, he does.
He talked about Khabib, and his favorite part of Khabib's grappling is how he likes to grab his opponent's arms behind the back, almost kind of like a chicken wing. I know that's not the real proper term. To keep them down, especially when he has them in full mount or like in half guard, and is basically using his sambo techniques to keep top pressure. And he cited sambo in the way that Khabib kind of has his top pressure and how he makes himself heavier than he is going to be his key to victory over someone like McGregor, who, while McGregor, and I noticed a lot of people kind of give McGregor credit. He has okay takedown defense. I think he really does. It's not bad. It's not as bad as some people might think it is. Because I went back and watched the Mendes fight too. But it's the top pressure that McGregor's going to struggle with. And especially with an opponent like Khabib, who feels more heavy than he is. That's going to be very telling of how this fight goes. Especially how early Khabib could take him down. And I think McGregor's takedown defense isn't bad. He's shown improvement, and he has decent coaching, so do I think he can take down Khabib? We'll see, and we'll talk about it in our final segment. I'm not going to go ahead and just spoil what we think, but I liked what Jack had to say. He was very technical as far as how he approached what both opponents need to do, and the thing about as far as what Conor's going to do. He mentioned him, instead of having his regular base karate stance and kind of leaning back, waiting for that counter left hook, he's going to look to kind of just lean more towards uppercuts and putting his base forward, kind of leaning more forward on his lead foot, and kind of just make sure he generates that power up the middle. Especially when you have a wrestler that's going to level change, or once they level change, they seek to chain wrestling, which is Conor's probably main weakness, and I can't remember who mentioned that. I think it was Jack, but he cited the Mendes fight, which is one of the fights that people are going to cite. Chain wrestling is basically when you level change, whether you're seeking, just a double leg, not really a single, because Khabib likes the single. I think it's just a double leg. I can't remember the fucking term, but it's basically once you look for that leg or you get those hooks underneath the pelvic region, when you chain wrestle is when you kind of position your hips into another direction. You keep continuing forward with the level change. You don't stop and then just dump them on their butt. You know what I mean?
It's rather than a single attempt, you're basically chaining together a bunch of attempts. So that can be going from from double to single. That can be going from single to clinch to take the back to trip.
It basically prevents a whizzer or a counter wrestling technique. So.
Yeah, it's basically just trying to overwhelm the amount of inputs you're giving your opponent so that they have to try and fight off so many different different directions of takedowns that eventually they slip up before you do. Like somebody who's fantastic at that. Probably the best example is Ben Askren, who just fucking will spam 800 takedown combinations at you until you fuck one of them up.
Yeah. So that's why that's my catch. I could have written down more notes from Jack, but as always, he does his homework. He does his research. I think he's one of the more unbiased analysts or critiquers, whatever you want to label him.
Yeah.
I think he does a great job at that. And I can't remember who he said he picked, but I think he was leaning Khabib, slightly.
I can't remember either. I wouldn't be surprised either way with him.
But I think
I
he
know
did
he is
say
a big
that,
Conor fan, but
I think he said either way it's kind of it's a pick 'em to him. He can see either outcome. And spoiler alert, that's kind of how I'm leaning until me and you get to the final segment. So
yeah, anyone could win this fight. There's a lot of question marks in this one. Speaking of question marks, a show that is my catch, or one of my catches, is Heavy Hands, episode 231. And it's a really good episode. It's a great example of Heavy Hands doing Heavy Hands things. Of course, that's the show hosted by Connor Rebush and Phil McKenzie, aka Evil Greg Jackson on Twitter. And the show they do a really good job of breaking down the different options that they're going to have during this fight. Also, this is the first episode they did that wasn't on the Bloody Elbow YouTube channel. They're now on a different YouTube channel.
Okay.
Because Bloody Elbow basically changed over all of their content recently. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see going forward. But it's weird to see how different all of that is happening with their content as of late. So let's see. Some stuff they touched on during that. They mentioned that actually Phil made a great comparison about basically between the Ronda Rousey Holly Holm comparison of essentially Khabib is going to have to get in on the inside and get somebody down similar to Ronda Rousey, whereas if Conor McGregor can figure out a Holm style counter of the same way Holm was able to figure out that Rousey always goes for the same underhook on the same side most of the time, if Conor can figure out a similar kind of way to shut down Khabib's entries, then it can definitely make a big difference in this fight in the long run. Of course, it's a pretty simplified version of that, and he even said that, but it's an interesting comparison nonetheless, and it probably is more reasonable than not. Some other stuff they brought up, they did bring up that they think Khabib is the better athlete of the two, which is hard to argue, because everybody's always talking about how Conor's super explosive and everything, but Khabib has generally had the better cardio. He's generally been stronger than everyone he's ever faced. So they had some interesting points about that. Connor Rebush had a super interesting point. He said Khabib's success will deteriorate McGregor, and McGregor's success will deteriorate McGregor, which I thought was a clever way of phrasing that. There's a lot of interesting takes from both of them. Conor is definitely leaning towards Khabib, and Phil is definitely leaning towards Conor. And one thing that Phil tweeted out this week, which I thought was hilarious, was Phil McKenzie tweeted out, "Friend, so who do you think wins Saturday? Me. Conor, he'll punch him good. He's good at punching. Friend, silence. Me. Mimes punch. Kapla. Ah. Friend, silence. Me. I co-host a fairly popular MMA Technique podcast." Fucking Phil has the weirdest, funniest kind of British snark that I'm a big fan of. Similar to Jack, actually, now that I think about it.
It checks out.
Yeah,
It
but
all lines up.
yeah, they just had some fun points. Connor also mentioned that Khabib has Connor mentioned that Connor has a habit of putting himself out of position when he throws his left hand because he overextends and his back foot comes off the ground a lot. Especially when you go back and watch the Diaz fights, like he did it all the goddamn time. So that'll be interesting to see if Khabib can exploit that to get the underhooks or at least get him dragged into a clinch brawl. They also talked a bit about the main card, mostly focusing on, as they called it, Pretty Tony versus Ugly Tony. And
That's great.
Conor, of course, brought up his theory again that Tony needed contacts because his entire game seems like it's essentially based around not being able to see and just eating damage to find his range, which is a weird point that I've heard him bring up before, but the more you watch Tony fight, the more it starts to make sense. So they also talked a bit about OSP versus Reyes, and Conor mentions he's going to be doing a live stream for UFC 229 on his Connor Rebush YouTube channel, so I recommend checking that out. It'll probably be pretty dope.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. Well, that's about all I had for Heavy Hands. But yeah, just a great example of why that show is good, and they gave an interesting take on both sides of the argument of how they think that's going to go. So, I really enjoyed it. Do you have any other catches you wanted to touch on?
I guess I'll call it like more of a mention, if that's cool.
Sure.
Unless you want. So, Ariel show.
Which one? The Helwani show?
Yeah, his show. I was selective in who I listened to. I wrote notes for... Oh, I guess it was just DC. Okay, because I did listen to Khabib, but I didn't write any notes. So, it was just mainly notes of Daniel Cormier saying what his plans are and what the UFC's kind of offered him at this point. They said that he's likely to be stripped of his 205-pound belt because he wants to fight Brock first. But he said the stipulation that he told the UFC is, let me get the first crack of the winner of that vacant title fight. He told Ariel that the UFC wants to do Jones vs. Gustafsson 2, I believe at the end of the year. Fuck, what is it, 232? December 29th?
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
He said things are tense with the UFC lately, but it's not tense in the fact that there's any sort of kind of ill will. More or less, they are trying to just find even ground right now as far as what his plans are. Because he still says he wants to retire by his 40th birthday. He says he thinks it's funny that someone like John Jones is going to get another title shot after being stripped 3 different times, once including the interim belt. Take that as you will. He discusses his main setback right now is his hand that's healing. Says he broke his hand for the 5th time during that Stipe fight.
Jeez.
Because apparently the 4 other times he had a metal plate across the top of his hand, and I think he said it broke above the metal plate or something that requires surgery, essentially.
Yeesh.
That doesn't sound fun. He talks about his opinion of John Jones, and he says, as far as every fight that he's won versus what he's lost, it doesn't really affect him. He says he doesn't take away the wins from John Jones, even though he tested positive for steroids. I believe it was both fights or one of the fights. He says because you still have to perform. He says it's just the fact that he's on roids is what takes away from that win. He's like, obviously he still whooped my ass. You know, he'll admit that.
Right.
Because the reason why he says is he's like, oh, how about all the wins I've had against other heavyweights and light heavyweights? I would not be surprised if some of those guys were on steroids. So what does that say? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he did fight Josh Barnett and Dan Henderson, who, at the very least back then, were probably on TRT.
He said the main thing is he doesn't have a problem fighting Brock as long as he tests clean. Same with John Jones. It's just because the reason why he doesn't want to lose someone that tests positive for steroids is because that's almost kind of like... it's almost like did you really lose kind of thing, or it's not. I think he's saying he'd rather have a clean loss. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I kind of agree. If you'd rather get your ass whooped, wouldn't you rather get your ass kicked by some dude who's just clean, showing that it just proves that he's better than you. Sure, someone could say yes, John Jones is still better than you, but then you can also but he's popped for roids. See what I'm saying?
Right.
That's basically where he was coming from, and I think it's a very fair point. Then he really dug into John Jones as far as him snitching. He said John Jones is a snitch and is basically Donnie Brasco. He said USADA says Jones has to continue cooperating with them, apparently, during his deal. Allegedly, 30 months was taken off Jones' initial sentencing. So instead of 15 months, apparently initially it was going to be 45 months.
Yep.
But he snitched. So it became 15. So, and what is 45 months? That's like... 48 months.
4 years almost?
Almost 4 years.
I think it was actually supposed to be 4 years, but then they took off, Yeah,
48 would be 4 years. So yeah, that sounds about right. He'd have almost just basically under 4 years.
Yeah, they took off a huge
I really
chunk.
do believe that's that what they would have handed him, but then they said, here's your plea bargain, you can be a little snitch. And he's like, okay, and how about instead of 4 years after that fight, which was what, a year and a half ago, July 2017. So what does that mean? He would have came back July 2021, basically, or he would have come back March 2021, something like that.
Yeah, I believe he got 30 months off for snitching, and he got 3 months off for them believing that he didn't do it intentionally.
Yeah. And if he really didn't do it intentionally, I just think he's just dumb. He's just that ignorant and dumb. I mean, as far as what he's putting into his body at that point.
Yeah, I mean, probably don't. I would say don't do blow before a major fight. But then again, there's someone this weekend that seems like they did blow right before a major fight. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Then he said, Ariel, how can you cheat and snitch? There's no honor among thieves. He said, I can get if you can cheat, but how can you snitch too? He says he's turned a page where if Jones gets the belt wrapped around him, he's saying potentially after me being stripped, he won't be too shook up about it because he just knows that that's just the promotion trying to move that division forward because it's such a shallow division as it is. He says Ariel asked him, where are you going to be for 229? He says he's going to be with his family watching the fight this weekend. Because he had asked him, are you going to be in Khabib's corner? I believe he said no.
Right.
So, and he says his son is a massive fan of Khabib.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So that was just a quick mention. And I guess I did write 2 notes. Khabib is on there. He says he anticipates Conor tapping out or him quitting. And he doubles down on Conor being unfocused during the fight because of his drug use and alcoholism. So there's that.
I mean, it doesn't seem like he's not using drugs, and he's definitely drinking, so...
Put up a fucking 12.
Yeah, exactly. Shouts to every MMA journalist this week, except for John Morgan. But then again, it's not because John Morgan wouldn't, it's because he just didn't happen to buy a proper 12 because he didn't have time.
Oh god, that just reminds me of the rude people on Reddit. Like, I was looking at the live thread for the press conference. Like, anyone else disturbed by seeing this fat guy, John Morgan? It's like, God, you guys are just mean.
Yeah, everybody's
He's just doing his fucking job.
MMA fans are all assholes.
Yeah. So how about you? Did you have any additional catches or mentions that you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, man. So, sorry, fucking garage door closing.
I thought I lost you for a second. I was scared.
No, yeah, there's a fucking all kinds of noise in the garage. So, I have 2 catches and 2 can't misses this week, and the reason is because I didn't want to I wanted to have one actual MMA 229 event catch and one actual catch and can't miss. I wanted to have one Ali Abdelaziz catch and can't miss this week, since there was a whole bunch of great episodes about him and how he's a piece of shit. So, for my catch, I listened to the MMA Ratings Podcast, episode 99, which is hosted by Raphael and Schwan Humes. Schwan Humes, of course, is Black Jordan Breen on Twitter. And Mike Russell was the guest on that. It's a fantastic episode. Mike opens talking about his history with the Fight Network and how it led him into researching and doing an investigative journalism on the Edmonton Commission around the Tim Hague death. And he cites, and he cites stuff like Lance Armstrong as the reason why a mainstream MMA reporter isn't going to be the person to break stories like Ali Abdelaziz or the Tim Hague issue. And the reason why is the Lance Armstrong, there was a whole thing when Lance Armstrong was doing drugs, and it was referred to as the spitting in the soup issue, where none of the reporters actually inside of cycling would ever cover the fact that Lance was juicing because of the fact that since they would lose all access to all the athletes, so it had to be a reporter outside of the actual mainstream sport to cover that story. And Mike, of course, compares that to the work he's doing because it's the exact same reason why guys like Ariel and John Morgan and people like Chuck Mendenhall won't get anywhere near any of these stories and are constantly critical of him, is because they don't want to lose any access. And a lot of them have spoken openly about it. Also, shouts to the funniest tweet all week where Ariel tweeted the quote of Conor saying, "You need to cut off the rat. You can't get information from a rat like Ali because he's just gonna lie to you." Whereas Ariel is the person always getting information from him and never fucking fact checking
and
him.
I remember someone mentioned it on Reddit, and I was like,
a whole bunch of people did. It's including us. It's the best. Oh my god! And shouts to watch Ariel in the next week or two start to turn the corner on that, but also not turn the corner on it in like the most sheepish bullshit way. It's going to be great. It's going to be real great watching all these MMA reporters all of a sudden act like this story just appeared out of nowhere and they haven't been openly shitting on Mike Russell and the story for years. So, so Mike calls in. Schwann's audio is a little rough, and Mike's audio is a little rough, so that's why it's only a catch for me. It gets better later on, but early on, there's some cutting out and some Skype issues. They discuss why MMA fans react so adversely to investigative journalism in the UFC and MMA, unlike the NFL and other major sports. which is an interesting discussion, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that journalists for the NFL and other major sports actually are journalists and actually have to be cleared and have like legit degrees and ethics and shit, which is not really a requirement in MMA.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of has to do with, I mean, compared to the other major sports, MMA is still fairly new. And as far as the journalism coverage, it's not as, it's not really nationally discussed. It's not. I mean, like I kind of mentioned before, the whole deal with the UFC joining force with ESPN, I think that really is better for the sport in the sense of coverage. Because I was like, dude, just a couple of days ago after work, right? I go to a bar in La Jolla after work, and everything I see on ESPN is just talking nothing about the fight. And I remember I talked to these people at the bar who know nothing about MMA, but they're gonna watch the fight. And I think that's why it's kind of, for better or worse, I guess it's a necessary evil. I don't want to talk bad on ESPN. I think ESPN does good things as far as coverage of sports, and I think for MMA it's kind of for the better, because a lot more people are gonna, or especially on ESPN Plus, those subscribers are gonna really kind of get a good idea of what MMA is all about. You know what I mean?
A necessary evil is a great way to describe ESPN, especially considering who owns them.
Yes, yeah. The House of Mouse
Yep.
controls.
They are pretty much the definition of necessary evil, the House of Mouse.
Yeah.
But I'll keep on moving on. The only other stuff they talked about, they went into a little bit of Ali's background. They talked about how Ali testified against or for the UFC in the antitrust lawsuit, saying that they shouldn't reveal fighter salaries, which is not something a manager should be doing, because managers should want open salaries so that
Yes.
they can all get better deals for their athletes.
Yep.
However, that would reveal how much money Ali is stealing from his athletes.
Yep.
So, of course, he lobbies against them. They also talk about how Ali is known for hanging out with Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby at the bar after fights and buying them drinks, which is also something that managers should not be allowed to do. And it would be fucking thrown out of any other sport for doing. So it's a lot of interesting talk about stuff like that. Towards the end, he does mention that. So of course, Mike Russell is working on his Patreon, where he's going to be releasing a series of investigative journalism podcasts about Ali, kind of in a serial-esque manner. Serial, the podcast, not serial, the format. He's aiming for 4 episodes a month, around 40 minutes to an hour each, and they're going to be releasing a free primer episode here shortly on Patreon. So I would definitely recommend keeping an eye out for that, and we will definitely cover it when it drops. And then other than that, they talk a bit about, first Schwan explains why Sajara is actually a more legitimate matchup for a 125-pound championship fight against Valentina than Joanna is, which 100% accurate, considering she's on a 4-fight win streak at 125, and really that fight should have been Nico versus Sajara in the first place, but Sajara missed weight against Nico, and then Roxy stepped in the first time, and then of course they're trying to push Valentina, so it's a whole fucking thing. But it's interesting hearing his take on that, and then they give their takes on the main and co-main of 229. Schwan makes some really good points about Conor's game and Pettis' game, and why people might be sleeping on some parts of the matchups and how that could really affect it. I'm not going to get into detail on it because he does it much better, but Schwan is really, really great at analyzing matchups in like certain areas that a fight could basically be won or lost in. So really interesting, and I highly recommend checking that out.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I mean that, like you said, I don't want to say the word interesting because that's kind of how you personified it, but it has some intriguing details to it and insight. I always love multiple insights. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to.
Definitely, and it's always good hearing Mike Russell get so much coverage lately, and he's been getting a ton this week, which is good to finally see because he's basically been shut out by most of the major media, and now a lot of podcasts are hitting him up and trying to get stories out of him. This week alone, I heard him on 4 or 5 different shows, so it's really cool to see. But why don't we get into, do you have a skip for this week?
I do. It's...
Oh, wait, I guess we should say Eugene S. Robinson style disclaimer. Just because we're saying to skip your podcast does not mean we dislike your podcast. We might even have liked the episode you did, but there's a reason why we think it is probably not worth people's time to sit through this week. So why don't you give us your skip?
Okay, well, so the skip is UFC Unfiltered, the episode from yesterday.
How much of Phoenix Carnival was on it?
She was not involved, except,
oh, wow.
Ironically, she might as well have been Phoenix Carnival because it was an independent musician named Anita Strauss.
Okay, great.
And she's a big fan of MMA, but she just talks about music, guitars, her father, and her upcoming album. And guess how long it takes until you hear Tony Ferguson on the phone until we start talking about MMA?
Is it real Tony Ferguson this time, or is it Jim Norton again?
And that's what it says in the description. It says in parentheses, real. I swear to God.
That's hilarious.
So yes, the real
I don't know. She must be fucking either Ari Emanuel or Dana, right? Why is she on an MMA podcast? I think it's
Ari for sure. Either way, fast forward 48 minutes, and then Tony's on the phone.
How's the Tony interview?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. He's a huge Matt Serra fan. The entire call, he just refers to him as Coach, which is great.
Yep, that
He's
sounds
just
good.
like, hey, Coach. Thanks, Coach. All right, Coach. He says the biggest part of his recovery was just quitting drinking cold turkey and just going completely sober.
Yeah, I heard he's not drinking anymore. Eddie Bravo's been talking about that.
It's something that's been evident. He's talked about it before. He's had a drinking problem in the past. We've seen the Ultimate Fighter. Where's your fucking son?
I was about to say, where's your son,
I'm sorry.
bro?
It's funny as that is always funny to me. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's real good.
Shouts out to, what is his name? Charles Rader, where the fuck you are. I hope you're with your son.
Something like that.
Sure. He says he really embraced his recovery from his injury, and he adopted a new health and wellness program. He got a new dietitian too, except as far as his own physical therapy, he's doing it in his own program with his own equipment.
Meaning, he's just watching DBZ and trying to balance on balls on one hand upside down while
listening to shitty new metal and all that. He said he created small goals, he remodeled his kitchen, he makes his own smoothies. He created some sort of gnarly funhouse thing for his kids. I don't know what he's talking about in his backyard. But it's something that basically he kept him focused. Matt asked him about how did you meet your coach, Eddie Bravo. He said he met him at 10th Planet Costa Mesa, and initially, Eddie wanted to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi, but he really didn't like the feeling of people just kind of getting an advantage, being able to grab onto you, whether they're in an unfair position or not. Say you have a better leverage or advantage someone, and you're in their guard, and they, you won't let them pass. It's like, oh wait, they can just grab onto you. It's like, no, I don't like that. You know what I mean? It's kind of almost like it's giving them.
Yeah, there's a lot more handles when you're in gi rather than.
And he said Eddie's system reminded him of freestyle wrestling that he's used to in college. High school, because Tony Ferguson was NCAA D1 All-American, hence the tattoo on his right calf, if you haven't noticed that already.
Yep.
He's another All-American, as there are definitely probably more than a handful in the UFC.
Yeah, something like that.
Shouts out to Chad Mendes, shouts out to Chris Weidman, shouts out to Justin Gaethje. I can't remember. There's a bunch more. You know what I mean. I can't name them all, but who else is there? Fuck.
There's a bunch.
I know this. Yeah, I'd have to remember. I know.
I can never remember.
Ed Ruth and Bellator, 100%. You know what I mean? Phil Davis, I believe too. But you know what I mean? There's a bunch of them. I think Michael Chandler too. Yeah.
Checks out.
Anyways.
Cool, man. Yeah, I can see why it's a skip though, because.
Yeah,
that
I
lady
just don't want to have
like
to listen to
she's
48. She seemed like it's fine. I have nothing against the person being interviewed. It's just that I want to listen to MMA stuff, not music.
No reason to be on a podcast called the UFC Unfiltered and then talk about your fucking acoustic album.
Yeah, and I could tell Matt was kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. He's like, fuck, I just want to talk to Tony.
Yep. And Jim Norton's trying to smell her feet or whatever weird shit he does.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my skip. Did you have one in particular, or a half skip?
Yeah, I have a half skip.
skip.
I have a half skip this week.
Full-blown skip.
That's right, Skip. So Coast to Coast MMA or Coast to Coast Combat Hour, their MMA Forethought UFC 229 episode. I love this show. They're also very good dudes. MMA Hawk and Ed Carbazal from the MMA Community Forum. Super nice dudes. I really like them. The only reason this episode is a skip is because Spark Yuri was on and his fucking smoke detector guested on the episode with him, which went off every 39 seconds. So, my notes go like this. My notes go, oh, they recap Bellator, smoke detector beep. Spark Yuri was in the building, smoke detector beep. Yuri dropped out, smoke detector beep, so Yuri must be back.
So, when you say beep, is it one of those beep? Like, really?
Yep.
And you just, oh, God.
Every 39 seconds for the entire show.
Oh, no.
So, it's a great episode, but I would only recommend listening to it if that kind of stuff does not bother you. I listened to too much Loveline back in the day, so it got to the point where I was timing how long the smoke detector took to beep, which was only 39 seconds. So that means the good news is that it hasn't been beeping for that long. The bad news is it's still been beeping for long enough for it to be beeping. So, yeah, it's kind of rough. But they gave their picks for 229. They went over the Bellator card in detail. It's a good episode aside from that. But, yeah, the beeping was rough. All right, so why don't you get us into, do you have a can't miss episode from this week?
Not really.
If not, I have two that I can get to.
Yeah, I mean...
We can get into some other stuff you listen to after. I can jump into the two I
I'll
heard.
let you go ahead and jump in now, and I'll just say some honorable mentions, and I'll just kind of finish it off. So...
Cool.
What was the can't miss for you?
So my can't miss, the first of two, was Story Time with Uncle Creepy, which is, of course, Ian McCall's podcast. And as we mentioned, I think last week, it was probably the week before, he had done an episode talking a lot of shit about Ali and how he was not a fan of Ali. Well, this week he had Mike Russell on because he'd been in contact. He'd been in contact with Mike after the last episode, and Mike sent him a bunch more info on Ali and how Ali is a giant piece of shit. And so Ian did his research, and he basically said he wanted to do this episode because he wants to become the moral mouthpiece for the sport, since no one else is goddamn doing it. I believe the line was, he wants to become the moral mouthpiece for the sport because it's being corrupted by a bunch of dickheads. So Mike comes on. He talks about how Ali's been threatening journalists for a long time. Ian talks about Ali threatening to sue him multiple times for bringing up the watch list stuff. Also, we do have a quote that we're going to be using from Ian for our next clip, which is him talking about all of the fighters that are sponsored by Ali and how, well, you'll hear the clip, but yeah. They do get into some of the WSOF stuff where Ali was matchmaking at WSOF. So he's making money for that. He's making money from managing the fighters that he's getting fights in WSOF. He's betting on the fighters that he match made for. He's then also getting money from the sponsors for those fighters. He's also getting money from WSOF for bringing in sponsors in the first place. Just like basically taking a cut everywhere in every kind of illegal way ever. There's so many conflicts of interest. It's insane. He talks about getting managers to sign over contracts, saying that he'd give them 5% of the take and he'd take 15%. So it's still, so essentially as a manager, they still get 20%, but then they're entered in the WSOF tournament where they have a possibility of making $1 million. It's like all kinds of ultra shady illegal shit that Ali was doing, which is why they forced him to step down. And that was some of the stuff that Mike Russell uncovered, along with John Nash and them. All right, now that we had the stampede of dogs that just came through here is gone. Sorry about that break. So yeah, they just go over all that stuff. One of the most fucked up stories, this is the kind of shit Ali would do. Ali got Nick Newell the Gaethje fight because he showed a tear-jerking video of Nick Newell to the CEO of WSOF, then handed the CEO the phone with Nick on it when he already told Nick that he's getting the fight without the CEO consenting to it. So he essentially showed him this tear-filled video, or this super teary video, and then handed the CEO the phone, and Nick's like, oh, thank you so much for the opportunity, da-da-da, even though the CEO hadn't agreed to it yet. Like, that's the kind of ultra shady shit he was doing. Just like giant piece of shit maneuvers over and over again. And he talks about his background and how he got put on the terrorist watch list in the first place. All that kind of stuff, so... Just really, really crazy stories, and really enlightening. I highly recommend everybody checks it out.
I just hope that eventually Robert Brighton gets to come on the show.
I'm sure that Mike Russell, that might be part of his podcast. I would not be surprised.
But then again, that seems like something Ariel would... Actually, no.
No, Ariel will never fucking touch this story until Ali doesn't have fighters. And then Ariel will act like he's been covering it all along.
Yeah, if Ariel was anti-Ariel, he'd be like, Ali, we have someone on the other line. Oh, look at that. Via the magic of Skype, Robert Brighton. How we doing, Robert? What do you have to say to Ali? See what I mean? If I was like Ariel, I would do that. But... Yeah,
well, Ariel has said in the past, if he cut out everyone who lied to him, he would have no one to talk to on his show. So, that's great journalism, bro. Anyway, on a more upbeat note, I have a Can't Miss MMA podcast, actually a series of Can't Miss MMA podcasts that's all about the UFC 229 event for those not looking to hear about Ali, and that is all of the content that Sheehan has been putting out for the Severe MMA Patreon. It's fucking fantastic. I'm literally just going to list off all the shit he put out because it's too much to go over. He put out the Size Up, which is basically his take on the Conor Khabib matchup. He put out the rewatch, the good and bad of McGregor and Khabib, where he watches old tape live to prep for the upcoming fight. He watches the Khabib versus Johnson fight and the Conor versus Mendez fights since he thought they were most relevant. He syncs you up in everything. Really interesting, and he clearly did his research ahead of time, so he's going through beats on each of them and what he thinks could play in. Just an interesting take on it. He also did an episode with Ariel, interviewing Ariel about the fight, which Ariel has the kind of quality, unbiased journalism. Like he thought that the press conference in New York, Conor won 10-7.
Oh, yeah.
Quality unbiased journalism right there. He also says Khabib is shook.
Wait, who's this
Ariel?
again? Sorry, I kind of had a brain. Oh, yes.
Of course.
No, that checks out.
He also big ups the UFC for using the bus footage and says it's the only option. Of course you have to use it.
It's the most disgusting thing in the history of the UFC.
Yeah. And he thinks... Ariel says that he thinks Khabib was intentionally striking poorly against Al Iaquinta to lure Conor into a fight. That's a real thing he said. So those are the kind of hot takes that Ariel gives. That's not the reason I'm recommending to check these series of podcasts out. I'm more recommending it for things like Sheehan had an episode or an interview with Pat Wyman, formerly of Heavy Hands Podcast, which Pat hasn't done MMA coverage in a while. So it's cool to hear Pat's take on the fight. They go over how Pat goes about analyzing fights like this, what Conor's good at, things like initiative and being able to like keep the distance at his range. He talks about Conor turning from a pressure fighter into more of an aggressive counter fighter. Kind of like, I think the Diaz fights did a lot of that for him. He mentions that Conor seems to be pretty uncomfortable when he's forced on his back foot. And Khabib's insane half guard game and cage takedowns, and pretty much all of his guests except for Ariel, I think, are leaning pretty heavily towards Khabib, which is interesting. Sean also did an interview this week with Luke Thomas. He put out a ton of content. He did an interview with Luke Thomas, who he introduced as Real Madrid's biggest fan and Face the Pain's biggest hater, which I thought was great. They talk about whether it's the biggest fight, Conor being one of the best first 2 round fighters. Khabib's nasty grip strength and over-under clinch game, and Khabib's ability to work and push a pace. Oh, and Luke does make a great comment about how he can't wait for Joe Rogan to freak out the first time Conor stuffs a takedown. Because he will stuff a takedown, and the first time it happens, Joe Rogan's going to fucking lose his mind.
Ow!
That's huge for Conor. That's a big statement.
Oh, Khabib's tired.
Yeah. And then lastly, they did an episode Sean did an episode with Pete Carroll of MMA Fighting. They recorded it right after Ryzen, and they talk about whether the time off and change in lifestyle could affect Conor. They mentioned that it's 35 quid for a bottle of Proper 12, which is a lot. And they also mentioned that Sean prefers Harp while Pete prefers Heineken. So
I forgot. I thought the Irish are on the Euro system, but I could be wrong.
I also thought, well, I don't know if Pete is even in Ireland anymore. He might be. I'm not sure if he's in Ireland or if he's in England. I don't know.
Wait, which thing?
Pete?
Oh, as far as like his whiskey, where it's being sold.
Oh, I don't know where he's living anymore. I don't know if he's still in Ireland.
Yeah. Who fucking?
Yeah, but it's an interesting episode. Sean just put out a ton of very high quality content, so I highly recommend checking it out on his Patreon if you want. He also did an episode with Conor McGregor's wrestling coach, but that was pretty brief and not a lot of info, which of course you're not going to get from a wrestling coach the week of the fight. So, interesting stuff, and I highly recommend checking it out. Let's see. Did you have any new shows that you listened to this week?
Unfortunately not, because I am, as Mark Hunt would say, a piece of shit rat fuck. So, I didn't listen to any
Well,
shows.
good news, I did, and it was one that I didn't know existed. It's called The Timbo Sugar Show, episode 11, which, by the way,
Timbo,
Timbo, Timbo.
Timbo.
And the reason why is because it's Tim and Sean OMalley.
I was gonna say someone named Tim or Timothy.
Yeah,
Clearly
it's
Timbo. That's a
Tim and
nickname I've heard in high
Yeah,
school. I remember some kid that it. Yeah, no, some kid I fucking went to school with. They called him Timbo. Like, hey.
yeah, it's Tim and Sean OMalley. Tim was on Joe Rogan's podcast with Sean, is where you'll recognize him from. But they recorded it directly after Sean received the info about the USADA violation. I think they recorded it like the next day. That was actually where he originally broke the news, even before his Instagram post. And yeah, he said that he talked to Nowitzki. Nowitzki told him that he was flagged for Ostarine, and Nowitzki even said on the phone that it's such a low volume, it's probably from a tainted supplement. Sean mentioned that he was taking caffeine pills, and he told Nowitzki the company, and Nowitzki said that company was one that people have had issues with in the past. Like, there's currently athletes suing them because of this exact kind of stuff. They also make a supplement called Ostapro, which has Ostarine in it. So the likelihood of cross-contamination of they didn't clean the vats before making the different supplements is probably what happened. But that's a big bummer. And he's clearly very depressed about it. It's pretty rough.
Oh no, it was when I heard that he had a USADA violation. That I was disappointed, but I kind of figured it'd be some sort of what do you call
tainted supplement.
Yeah, tainted supplement or kind of unsuccessfully submitted supplement.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things. He said he's missing out on a 6-figure payday for this card too, which I don't know how the fuck they're paying him 6 figures already when there's dudes that have been fighting for the UFC for 5-10 years.
You see how much Tony Ferguson's getting paid.
Yeah,
right?
he's barely. Well, yeah, he has the weirdest fucking pay structure ever. I don't know how the fuck why even give him 5K?
He should be
to
getting
win?
more.
It's weird that he's getting
He should be getting
150
more.
to show and 5K to win.
That's bullshit.
Very weird.
He should be getting 300 to show or 350 to show.
Well, and Conor said that Nate was getting 20 and 20 when they first fought, which is fucking insane. Like, Nate's been fighting for them for 15 years. Fucking crazy. So, I don't know. It's all kind of, or I guess not quite 15, but still.
By the way, did you hear the rumor that Dana says they might make Nate versus Dustin a 5-rounder?
Yeah, that's like super fucking up in the air, though.
I think they'll do it, to be honest. I know we'll get into it next month, but I really think they're going to have to, especially considering what the fucking main event is.
Yeah, we'll see how all that.
I think they really will do that. There's too much to be. There's so much to gain with the full.
True,
5
but
rounds.
it's fucked up to give them like 3 weeks notice that it's a fucking 5-round fight. Like,
yeah, they both have good fucking cardio.
yeah,
They'll
but
be
3
fine.
weeks notice, and they're not gonna get paid more.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not a fan of them just making it 5 rounds just cause. Seems like makes no fucking sense.
Oh, I'm just being the selfish.
Oh,
fight
for sure.
fan.
I'd
That's
love
all
to
that
see it
is.
be a 5-rounder, but I don't think it will be. Some other stuff they mentioned on that show I'll briefly get through. They talk about some of the podcasts they like. They shout out stuff like Joe Rogan's podcast, Aubrey Marcus's, Chris D'Elia, Kyle Kingsbury, which is pretty cool to hear. And then Sean talks about how he's probably going to be on Twitch more and how that's the place to talk to him and get to know him better, and he loves hanging out on Twitch with everybody. So that was cool to hear.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Let's see. Why don't we keep on moving on? Did you have any MMA podcast for the well-rounded fight fan, as CME would say?
Yeah. What was it? I listened to, of course, old Billy Freckles.
Oh, Billy Freckles.
Monday morning podcast. Him talking about his Boston sports teams, of course. The old baseball playoffs started about a couple days ago.
Yep.
But all exciting. I saw the Red Sox won a close one tonight. What the fuck was he talking about?
I think he talked about Sober October, too, right?
He did mention that. God damn it. He mentioned something that made me laugh my fucking ass off. Fuck. I didn't write any notes. It's one of those things I listen to on the way to work. He did talk about that Netflix is going to announce F is for Family Season 3. I don't know if you ever watched this animated show on
it's
Netflix.
great.
I think it's pretty fucking funny. God damn it. He mentioned something about Elon Musk and space astronauts.
That checks out.
Fuck.
Well,
I don't know what it was.
Well, it's all right. That actually segues all right. Old Billy Freckles segues pretty well into my show that I recommend people checking out that's not about MMA, which is all of the Sober October stuff. Mainly, I'm recommending the Bertcast, which is Bert Kreischer's podcast, as well as Open Tabs, which is the show where he basically just sits down and reads through all the tabs that he has open on his computer from the last week, which has been a lot about Sober October. And I just recommend listening to those all month because they're going to be fucking hilarious. The Bertcast I normally listen to depending on the guest. There's some like fucking comedians or actors that I really could not give less of a fuck about on that show sometimes. But then there's also guys like, he did a great episode with Kevin Heffernan and the Super Troopers guys, or Steve Lemmy.
I was going to say from Broken
Yeah,
Lizard.
he did a great episode back in the day with Tom Segura and David Tell. Theo Vaughn was a great episode. So that show's a lot of fun to listen to. And then the other one I wanted to shout out was the Joe Rogan Experience episode, Sober October 2, which was fantastic. Basically, it's the episode where they break down all the bets they're gonna make, and like what the wagers are for this Sober October. Which they were going to be using these weird exercise monitoring devices, where essentially it measures your heartbeat, and you get a certain amount of points, and whoever got the most points by the end of the month was going to win. Except Ari Shaffir evidently has figured out a way to cheat, where if you just keep it above like 70 beats per minute for a really long amount of time, then you just get crazy high points. So like Rogan watched the movie Gladiator and got like 500 points or something insane. So Ari immediately figured out how to cheat the system, which is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, there's a movie that'll kind of keep you on edge.
Yeah, so that's hilarious. But they say, Rogan says that at the end of the month they're going to drink Tito's and do a movie commentary for the movie Gotti.
Oh, is that what John Travolta
the really,
heard?
really
It's one
bad
of the worst
one.
movies ever.
They're going to get a giant thing of Tito's and a giant thing of whiskey and hang out and
By the way, speaking of movie commentaries that me and you've done, I was watching My Dad's Dogs this past weekend, and Cradle to the Grave was on TV, and I had to watch it again, of course. And, that sequence with Jet Li watching Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell 3 at that time, or maybe it was Chuck
Who
Liddell
knows?
2
One of them.
at the time. But yeah, that was fucking pure comedy. How he just does a spinning back kick and sends a guy who's probably about 220 pounds back flying like 20 feet.
Yeah.
When this dude is probably 145 pounds and 5'6".
Yeah, that movie's real bad. But anyway, the only other thing I wanted to mention about that episode is at the end of it, I think their wagers are they're going to all go to a big event, and like whoever gets first place doesn't have to pay for anything. Whoever gets, I think they're going to a UFC card, but whoever gets second place has to pay for food. Whoever gets third place has to pay for flight, or maybe it's fourth place is flight. Anyway, yeah, it's flight is fourth place, hotel is third place, food is second place. And then first place doesn't have to pay for anything. And Joe just keeps saying, I'm going to try and kill Bert by making him work out way too much. So that's hilarious. And they're also getting a belt made. So whoever wins at the end of the month gets like a physical Sober October belt. Like a championship belt. And then they end the episode. Bert ends it talking about Bellator and how he saw Musasi's cock in the sauna. And it's huge. Which is hilarious. So it's a hell of a way to end that episode, but it's definitely a good one, and I recommend checking it out. Even more so, I recommend checking out whatever episode they do at the end of October, where they all get super fucked up and do a movie commentary, because that's going to be fantastic.
Hell yeah, man. That sounds great.
Absolutely. Do you have any other shows you wanted to shout out here briefly before we go on to give our picks for 229?
I'll mention briefly Slip and Dip, episode 71.
I didn't catch that one.
They pretty much got right into picks. Matt and Kendrick both like Conor by KO. Kendrick likes him round 2. I think Matt likes him by decision, actually, which is
That's crazy.
They both don't like Pettis. They don't think he'll have enough for Ferguson. They both like Dominic Reyes. They think the winner of Lewis or Volkov should get the next title shot. I mean, all I'm going to say is, what about Stipe, your longest reigning champion? Yeah, the state trooper. Kendrick doesn't think DC is going to defend a heavyweight at all, which is weird. But then he says he doubled down, thinks he's going to fight Jones at 205. That doesn't make sense to me. So it is interesting. That's all I had to say to that. And then they had all these weird, interesting scenarios that someone pulls out of the main event. Yada, yada, yada. I wrote a couple notes on MMA on the Rocks.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. They initially thought the fight wasn't going to happen. They don't think... So it's weird. They both said they don't think Conor wins by KO, but they don't think Khabib wins by ground and pound. So clearly they both think decision. So that was a little confusing.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too.
Yeah, Conor has a strategy that doesn't involve finishing him in the whatever. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's Conor's... I feel like that's Conor's shit-talking, clearly. Like, he always says, I'm going to finish him in the first round. Like, that's just Conor's style.
He's never not predicted that he's going to knock someone out.
I think the only time he did that was like against Poirier or like something like, but that's about it. Or Aldo technically, but whatever. That was just a fucking chance. What did they say? They talked about the narrative of, remember when everyone's like, Michael Johnson caught Khabib with the left hand, so Conor should be able to finish Khabib, and they said that's bullshit, and I'm glad they said that.
Right, because on rewatch, he did hit Khabib. He did not catch him clean and didn't really wobble him at all.
Oh, and speaking of which, shouts out to Brett Okamoto with a great article that he did for ESPN called What It's Like to Fight Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov, in which he literally interviewed all of McGregor and Khabib's past opponents.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's fantastic. You get insight from all their past opponents, and Michael Johnson literally says, fighting Khabib, he said, I kept my hips back as I threw punches, was leaving myself extended because I didn't want to step into anything. I was worried about his shot and him taking me down. If I just focused on myself, it would have been different. What did he say about
Also, if he didn't jump for a fucking guillotine in the second round, it'd be different.
Oh, here's literally what Michael Johnson says verbatim. people talk about the left hand I landed, but I never really thought I hurt him as bad as everyone thought I did. There you go. The fucking dude himself saying it. He said, you see different things when you're in the cage, and I didn't see Khabib getting hurt. I remember him taking a good punch. That wasn't my best left hand because, again, my hips were back, and I didn't step in with a lot of power because I was worried about the takedown.
Right.
So there you fucking go. Sorry to go animated, but that's literally Michael Johnson saying I didn't hurt him.
That's funny.
So, and Michael Johnson says, this fight is going to go either one of two ways. It's pretty simple. Khabib's going to take him down, or Conor's going to defend the takedowns and end up with the left hand. That's it. So it comes down to, can Conor defend that takedown? So we'll fucking see. And we'll talk about it more.
Yeah,
so
should be interesting.
That's what I'll end on. Shouts out to Bert Okamoto with an interesting article. I'm glad he actually had the idea of talking to all the past opponents. I hadn't
that's
heard
cool.
something like that, and I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. You even get really good insight from Ali Quinta, of course, and Chad Mendes, too.
Nice.
So
yeah, one other thing that was cool from MMA on the Rocks, they did a proper 12 tasting where they did a decent review on it. They said it's not as good as Jameson, but not bad, which is 100% the right way to describe that. The one thing that Bill did mention, which I didn't catch before, is that it's aged in bourbon barrels, which is weird. Because Irish whiskey's never aged in bourbon barrels. So that's...
I think, to be fair, Jameson does have a line, though, that does age in bourbon
They
barrels.
do, but it's not their main line.
Oh, I know.
But
I know.
yeah, I didn't catch that
remember
before.
I went to a liquor store and saw some gnarly Jameson. It's like...
Yeah.
Aged in whatever
And I'm
the
sure
fuck.
it's much better. Yeah, Bill also got super salty at Dazen during that episode.
Dazon!
Nah, dog, it's Dazen, because that's how the fuck they spell it.
I know, it's
Same
Dazen.
reason it's Risen and not Risen, because that's how the fuck they spell it.
Because you're rising through the
That's
ranks.
right. I saw in co-main events, what do they call that shit? The Friday, whatever their fucking email is on Fridays. The Breakfast of Champions email. One of the people who wrote in called it Days Inn, as in the hotel chain Days Inn.
Wow.
It's real good. I was a big fan
That's
of that.
kind of funny, though.
Let's see. I want to just quickly shout out. I'm not even going to get into them, but Dan Tom with Protect Your Neck podcast had a very good episode with Connor Rebush about the top 5 hook KOs ever, which was really good. There's picks from Pride, UFC, Strikeforce, and also they do a proper 12 review where Dan Tom, like everyone else, also gives it, unlike everyone else I should say, also gives it the correct review where he says it's kind of light and bland. And then actually Dan Tom does use the line, I bet he's cutting his product just like old cocaine he's using. So, thought that was good. Behind the Paywall, which is TJ DeSantis' Between Rounds series with Jeff Sherwood. They do these things where they have people call in and the other host has to guess who it is. And TJ had John Jones call in, the real John Jones. So that was fun. They talk about cats and animals and trolling and stuff like that. It's real good. Three Amigos, episode 200 was good. They had Sean Sheehan on to talk about UFC 229 and give their picks for it. Between Rounds Roundtable was fantastic, where they just go through. It's Jordan Breen, Jeff Sherwood, TJ DeSantis, and Eric Jackman, a.k.a. New York Rick. So that was a good episode where they just give their picks for 229. And then the MMA Vivisection, where they did the main card on the main Bloody Elbow, whatever their fucking new version of that network is. They also did a prelim show on the side, which was very good as well. So recommend checking all those out.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. We'll wrap this segment here, and then when we are back, we're going to get into our picks for UFC 229. I am fucking hyped.
Oh, yes.
Cool. Well, we will be right back after you hear this clip from Ian McCall talking about, talking to all the athletes sponsored by the shady motherfucker named Ali Abdelaziz. So check this out.
He has to get out of our sport. And to any fighter out there, Frankie Edgar, all the Russian guys, anyone, is it Kayla Harris? She's represented by him. If you are represented by this man, shame on you. Shame on you. Honestly, fuck you. You guys need to think outside of the box. Okay, the guy's a bad person, and now you all know the facts, so get your shit together and get rid of him and get with someone who's honest. You know, I mean, sure, if you want to step in the same direction, go with Malky. He's a shitbag. You like that kind of guy? Go there.
All right, everyone. It is time, finally, for the fight card that you didn't know you were waiting for the whole year. That is UFC 229, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor. He's fucking back.
Can't believe they both made weight.
I
can't believe them and Tony made weight.
Okay, that's what I can't believe. I believe that Khabib and McGregor made weight only because they said Khabib was like 165 pounds a couple days ago. That's why I knew he was going to make weight, and I'm not kidding.
Evidently,
like, once I heard that, I was like, dude, this dude's making weight. And I know
Conor, he was on weight like a couple hours out.
And I know Conor always makes weight, and that's what I like about Conor. Don't get me wrong, like, that's the weight he should fight at. And he's a true professional. Like, that's the one thing about Conor. He always makes weight, and good for him. You know,
True. I don't know about how professional he is, but he always makes weight.
Excuse me. Professional in the sense of making weight. And, you know, as far as the pure irony of Khabib and Tony making weight on the same fucking card, and they're not fighting each other, fuck off. Like, it's like they might... I mean, if it wasn't Conor McGregor fighting Khabib, you know, you'd rather him fight Tony. But it's Conor, and he's the biggest draw, and... You know, and they have that new rivalry and the whole history of... This is the thing. It reminds me of a comment that I saw on YouTube. It was fantastic because, as you know, YouTube comments are a dime a dozen, right? And this one, they said... Oh,
yeah, they're not the biggest trash fire on the internet.
No, it's a dime a dozen. This was the dime being, someone said, Artem Lobov is the Helen of Troy for 229. And that was fucking amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I was like, holy shit, that is so accurate. And that, yeah. That's what to expect for this card. So
straight up. Also, speaking of good fortunes for tomorrow, turns out, I just found out via Twitter while we were on break, that Alex Nicholson got one shot knocked the fuck out into a Christ lying on the cross pose in PFL. So, hey, there's one for karma.
So in the Sounds of Soundgarden, he was in his Jesus Christ pose.
You know it. That super timely reference of Soundgarden. Nice pull.
Rest in peace, Chris Cornell. Anyways, now that I plugged that in, I have the picks pulled up for you to plug in. I believe if you're gonna take control of that.
Already did.
Cool. So let's get right into this shit. First off, we have a welterweight fight between American Ryan LaFleur, record of 14-2 from Long Island, going up against another American, Tony Martin, who was a record of 13-4.
Tony Martin's moving up from 155.
Okay, I like it. Last time we saw Ryan LaFleur, he had a unanimous decision victory over Alex Garcia, who I believe is from the Dominican Republic, or that's what he represents. Before that, he had a knockout loss to Alex Cowboy Oliveira in round 2 of a UFC on Fox 25 fight in July of 2017. Before that, he had a win over Juan Carnero. So, LaFleur's getting back into the thick of things. I think this is a good matchup for him. Tony Martin, as he is...
actually, now that I think about it, Tony Martin's last fight was also at 170 against Kita Nakamura.
That's right. His last fight was April 21st. A post 420 fight victory, unanimous victory against Kita Nakamura. You can hear like who going fucking stoners. It's like, well, sorry. Before that, he had a split decision loss to OAM, and if you're losing to be a split decision, you did something right. If you're winning a round against OAM.
Yeah, OAM is solid.
Before that, he was on a 3 or 4 fight win streak. 3
fight.
So this one's kind of tough to call for me. I know LaFleur's bread and butter is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, his wrestling also, which is gonna be interesting because they're both decent wrestlers. They actually have pretty similar games. LaFleur's it's Southpaw versus Orthodox, which I think might play into it. LaFleur last time out basically lived off of throwing body kicks and straight lefts against Alex Garcia. And he had some really nasty clinch work on the cage also. Did really well in scrambles. Martin is an ortho boxer. Pretty much lived on feints and pull counters against Kita Nakamura the entire fight. I mean, he definitely hung in the grappling as well, but he just kept landing pull right hands over and over again.
So Martin doesn't win his victories via affiliation with Rape, does he? Because I noticed he's with Team Lloyd Irvin.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for the terrible in taste joke, but
I mean, not really a joke, unfortunately.
yeah, that part's not a joke. I was just being cheeky as fuck, and that he is represented by Lloyd Irvin, who's not a good human being.
No, the opposite, in fact.
But, as it is, I stay unbiased as I can. However, I know I've seen Tony Martin fight. It's to the point where if I can't remember fights in my head, visually, I'm just reminded of how they fight once I actually see them fight, hence my preview. Yep. Yeah, I don't really know how to predict this, man.
So I'm going for this one. I'm leaning with Flair pretty hard, mainly because I think a lot of this might come down to size, and I think LaFleur is going to be able to out-muscle Martin a bit. I think if it does come down to wrestling scrambles, Ryan LaFleur is probably going to win those exchanges. The one thing that does make me kind of nervous is the pull counters of Tony Martin. If he is able to ding LaFleur with right hands as LaFleur is trying to set up body shots and kicks, I think that could be a problem for LaFleur, but I think overall the size and the grappling of LaFleur is probably going to get him the decision, so I'm leaning that way, but I think it's going to be pretty competitive either way.
I think I'll just lean LaFleur in the fact that he's not moving up in weight and Martin is. Granted, when you move up in weight, you do retain most of your power due to a less weight cut, so that's fair in Martin's sense that he might be able to showcase more power and less exhaustion due to...
Yeah, he put a pretty nasty pace on Kita Nakamura last time out.
But in any sense, I'm gonna go with LaFleur via decision. It's just gonna be my call for now.
Cool. Looks like the odds on that one, according to 5 Dimes, LaFleur is a -130 to a +120 Tony Martin. That sounds about right. It should be pretty close, and it is, but I could see why they're leaning LaFleur's way slightly.
So, this next fight, I'll just say right off the bat, I do not like at all. And I don't care for it at all.
This fight would have been a lot more fun 3 years ago.
Yeah, you have two
Maybe
veterans
more than
in, is this lightweight or welterweight? I don't know anymore. This is featherweight? What the
feather,
fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have Gray Maynard.
No, this is a lightweight.
You have Gray Maynard, who's 13-6-1. We know who he is. Nick Lentz, we know who he is. He's 28-9-2. Fuck.
Yeah, Gray Maynard's coming off that win over Teruto Ishihara, where he basically just out-wrestled Teruto Ishihara for 3 rounds straight.
Yeah. And then he had that interesting loss to Ryan Hall.
Yeah, where he got
was
fucking hook kicked 100 times.
Off his back and doing the leg sweeps. You can tell. I'm just... Dude, fuck this fight. I just don't care. I feel like my inner Eugene S. Robinson is showing right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If this was a care don't care, you definitely don't care.
No, fuck no. Fuck this fight altogether. Get it off the card.
Who are you
going?
picking?
I'm going Nick Lentz because I feel like Gray Maynard doesn't even give a fuck. So I think... I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah, fuck it. Nick Lentz win by the shit decision. That's my pick. Fuck it.
Shit decision?
Yeah, shit decision. Write it in the thing.
Shit decision.
Shit decision.
I did. I wrote that on our doc. I also have Nick Lentz. I also actually have him in our Magwar Fantasy League as well, because I think he's going to TKO Gray Maynard pretty early in this fight. Nick Lentz's last fight against David Tamer, he actually clipped Tamer with some pretty heavy shots. And was kind of a shit-eating wild man. So, yeah, I'm going Lentz by TKO first. I hope this isn't a decision, is basically my point. Because if this is a decision, it's going to be a really ugly, sloppy-ass decision.
Yeah, 100%.
The odds on that one, Nick Lentz is a minus 235 to a plus 215.
Right,
Gray Maynard. Yeah, sounds right.
So, the next fight, I'll just say it as any other person would probably say it, or some other shoots here, the beautiful Yana Kunitskaya, as someone probably said.
Excuse you, it's Foxy.
Thank you, that's
Yana
why I said that.
Kunitskaya.
I baited you, bro. You like that?
Dog, don't talk about baiting while we're talking about Yana Kunitskaya.
Oh, yeah, right? Baiting in what context? Zing.
Any context.
Lena Landsberg, the Swede, the elbow queen, record of 8-3. Kunitskaya, record of 10-4. That fourth loss coming by the hands of Chris fucking Cyborg.
Yeah, they both have an L to Chris.
Oh, that's right. So they share something in common. Here we go. Maybe they can call this a fucking draw. I don't know. Just kidding. It's kind of an interesting fight.
Yeah, they have very similar styles.
It's the
They both basically live and die in the
5'8", Landsberg's 5'7". Landsberg is the elder by 8 years. Wow. Okay.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Wow.
That's interesting.
I don't really have. It's kind of hard to call. I don't want to be like this typical, oh, you gotta go with the young, hungry fighter, because it's like, this depends on their mindset, who they fought last. It looks like Landsberg last fought Gina Mazzani. She won unanimously. Before that, she lost to Aspen Ladd via ground and pound. She beat Lucie Pudilova. She also but she also beat Lucie Pudilova. Yeah, I don't. This is.
It's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna go Kunitskaya. I'm gonna be like, gotta go the younger fighter.
You think? How do you think she takes it?
Decision. Landsberg's,
I think that's smart.
Landsberg's tough.
I think this fight basically comes down to who gets the underhooks, because I think it's entirely going to take place in the clinch. They both of their games are built around the clinch. The only factor that I think could make a difference is Yana Kunitskaya has decent top game, and she has decent, semi-decent takedowns. So if she can get Lena Landsberg down, I think she definitely wins the decision. If she doesn't, this is going to be a rough, long decision where that almost exclusively takes place in the clinch in over-under, where they're both landing not a ton and sitting in the clinch for 3 rounds straight.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to who gets underhooks more. I want to lean Lena Landsberg because she generally is better at working for underhooks. But now that I hear that Yana's younger, and the fact that Yana, if she does get this down, I think she takes a decision. Yeah, I guess I'm going to go Yana, but not at all with any confidence.
I was going to say
and I can easily see Lena taking this.
Yeah,
if it just sticks in the clinch and over-under, I could see Lena just landing a couple more elbows and barely winning a decision.
Yep.
Let's see.
What are the odds on that?
Yana is a minus 210 to
Okay.
a plus 190 Lena Landsberg. That seems way too wide to me. But Yana has looked pretty good. She did get the win over Raquel Paului for the Invicta belt. She also has the overturned armbar decision. Shouts out to Mike England over Tanya Evinger.
Okay.
In what is quite possibly one of the worst reffing decisions of all time by Mike England.
Oh, I remember that.
She stood on her face.
That was fucked.
Mike England doesn't know the fucking rules.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm leaning Yana, but man, barely, and with zero confidence.
So this next fight is between
Alan Patrick.
I would describe, if just looking at his name, the most non-Brazilian sounding name, Alan Patrick.
Except it's a long
I know. That's why I said it on purpose, because it's spelled, and it's not spelled like a regular Alan. There's no, I don't have to explain it. The Brazilian is going up against Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman. It's a lightweight bout.
Yeah.
Alan Patrick is 15-1. Last time we saw him, he defeated Damir Hadzovic unanimously this last February. Before that, holy fuck, 2 years before that, excuse me.
Whoa.
He unanimously defeated Stevie Ray Vaughan of Scotland, not Texas, for those who are confused. And yes, please be confused. That was his pride and joy. I'm done. Sorry for all the stupid fucking references. Had to do it. I really do actually like Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's a very talented guitarist. Rest in peace. He was influenced by Jimi Hendrix. All right, I'm done with my plug. Let's see. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman. Last time I saw him, beat world beater Daryl Horcher, not a journeyman. Wow. Oh fuck! Almost a year ago too. Wow. Last December. Man,
yeah,
this is gonna be a fucking barn burner, dude. Before that, beat Michael McBride unanimously. April, yeah. And then lost to Josh. Oh man, this is a fucking good one. Dude, I'll be honest, I have no clue who to fucking pick.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm pretty torn on.
The hot sauce, mainly because Patrick hasn't fought in a while. Like he fought recently, but not like routinely. You know what I mean?
Right.
Fuck. Dude. I hate picking these kind of fights. God damn it.
Yeah, it's tough.
This guy's a
lot of these are very close matchups.
Submission and it's early. Hot sauce. What's his pattern? What's his deal, man? You decisionator. Fuck. Fuck this fight. He's younger. Oh, they're the same age. What the fuck? That makes it worse. They're both 35. Fuck off. Oh, god damn it. This is a coin flip. Do I have a coin? Let's find here. Let's find a fucking quarter. Alright. Tails for Patrick. Heads for hot sauce. Here we go. Alright, it's tails. I'm going Patrick. Sorry about it.
That is what I've heard a lot of people go with this week, is Patrick. You're going decision, I'm guessing?
Yeah, of course. They're both decisionators.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people go with Patrick this week. I'm kind of leaning Holtzman. The only thing that gives me pause is Patrick. I think a lot of this is going to come down to the wrestling game and the scrambles. Because if Patrick does get on top, I think he's going to dominate this fight pretty consistently. But Holtzman was able to pretty steadily out-wrestle Daryl Horcher in a pretty impressive fashion. He also did well on the feet. Patrick's just a fucking tank, though. That dude is just jacked and muscles dudes around. So I'm actually going to take hot sauce in this, but again, not ultra confident at all. I mostly just think he's going to... I think Patrick is going to end up on bottom enough, and he's going to work... hot sauce is going to get him to work enough that I think hot sauce squeaks out a decision, but I don't know. Let's see. Odds on that one. Wow. Man, I must be wrong according to odds makers, because Alan Patrick is a minus 260 favorite to a plus 240 Holtzman. Evidently, I didn't do enough tape study.
I think it'll be fine.
Or they see something I don't.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
Agree to that. This next fight is interesting.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
In that you have a scrappy veteran versus a rising prospect, if you want to call it that.
A scrappy rising prospect,
yeah. Hence the white athlete term, scrappy. Tanya Evinger is facing off against Aspen Ladd. For those who are like, just say their fucking names already, you dipshit. I just did. Tanya Evinger, last time we saw her, she got fucking destroyed by Chris Cyborg.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah.
She's been out because of injury.
Yeah. She hung in there, though. She survived 2.5 rounds. That's an accomplishment.
Hit. She got some takedowns. She did decent.
Yeah.
Then again, my name on or my flair on Reddit for the Sound of Violence podcast account is I picked Evinger AMA.
That's right. God damn it, dude. I there was the Friday flare bets today, and I didn't pull the trigger. What was one of them? Someone bet is I look after Noah AMA. I think someone was one of someone's, and
that's fucked up.
There's some pretty good ones today that someone did. Yes, apparently Tony Ferguson in the interview just said MMA is a man sport. So someone had it as a flair. Of course, Tony would say that.
Yep.
Sounds like Dana, circa 2010.
Yeah.
Aspen Ladd, only 23 years old. Is she undefeated?
Coming off a couple
undefeated.
impressive wins. Undefeated as a pro.
That's what I mean.
Has a loss to Cynthia Calvillo as an Annie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When you hear us say undefeated, we're referring to the professional fight record. She ground pounded in Landsberg. She beat Sojara Eubanks, so she's no fucking pushover. I was supposed to say pullover. She's not a cardigan. She's definitely no pushover.
She has a win over... she has a win over Amanda Bobby Cooper back in the day, too.
Yeah, so this... I like this matchup a lot. I really do. I feel like they match up more evenly than you'd think. However, I really do like Tanya Evinger. I really do like the pace and pressure that she puts, especially against the cage. She kind of reminds me of a Khabib Nurmagomedov in her top control and her pressure. You know what I mean? As far as the output.
Yeah, like a far less technical Khabib.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. For that.
Yeah, she puts a crazy pace on that.
For that division, her style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of tough one to call.
Yeah, these are all pretty close matchups.
Fuck. Yeah, you know what? This is just a gut call, but I think I'm going to go with Aspen Ladd decision. Don't know why. I just kind of see one of those like upsets. Would this be an upset? You can tell me the odds after this, but I'm going to go with Aspen Ladd decision.
So I was really torn on this fight until I saw Aspen Ladd weigh in looking like fucking death.
She did. She was fading. For sure.
First off, she came in at 134.5 or whatever. Had to use the ring of shame, and when she went to flex afterwards was shaking super bad.
Yep.
And like looked fucked up. So I'm going Tanya Evinger because you can't look like that and have Tanya Evinger put a pace on you. Especially when Tanya Evinger tweeted out today that she had a weight cut of 1 pound.
Wow. Because
she's been in fight shape for a while since the Ketlin Vieira fight dropped out in September. So, yeah, I'm going Tanya Evinger. I'm probably taking her via... Man, I'm going to say... I'm going to say TKO second round.
I can see that.
Ground and pound TKO. I think Tanya's just gonna get it eventually. Ladd's gonna fade, and Tanya's gonna put a pace on her that's not gonna help. And when Tanya gets on top and starts swarming, I think Tanya either TKOs her or gets the sub because Aspen just can't handle the pace and the pressure.
Yeah.
Odds on this fight as of right now, Aspen Ladd is still a favorite at -165 to a +155 Tanya Evinger. I'd be surprised if we don't see that line get closer by tomorrow just because of that weigh-in. She looked fucking bad at the weigh-ins. But yeah, I think that's going to be a fun, scrappy fight, though.
Cool. I dig it, man. I'm looking forward to that fight. What were the odds again? I'm sorry, it kind of went through one ear, went out the other.
It's all good. Tanya Evinger is a +155 to a -165
Okay.
Aspen Ladd.
Okay, I could see that. So next up we have Brazilian. I was supposed to say young veteran. Isn't this guy kind of youngish? Yeah, he is. He's very
born
young.
in 91.
Holy shit. Brazilian Vicente Luque going up against American Jalen Turner.
Yep, filling in for Sean O'Malley.
I was going to say, I am sorry, Jalen Turner, but I've never heard of you. No disrespect.
He fought in Contender Series.
Wait, did you say Sean O'Malley? Because Vicente Luque is fucking huge.
Wait, wasn't it supposed to be Sean O'Malley? Isn't this the one that he's filling in for Sean O'Malley on?
because Sean O'Malley's a fucking bantamweight.
Oh, that's right. That whole
You
fight
just
dropped
confused
off.
the fuck out of me.
I thought he was filling in. Maybe he's not filling in for anybody. I swear.
I
he
think
was
they just
filling in
moved
for
his fight
somebody.
up.
You're right. You're right. He was supposed to fight Quinones.
Dude, you
You're
confused
right.
me so hard. I was like, dude, there's no way O'Malley fights at 170.
No, you're right. I forget O'Malley's a 135er. You are correct. Well, I don't know why the fuck they hate Jalen Turner so bad.
Anywho, Vicente Luque is only 26, record of 13-6-1. Last time we saw him, he knocked out Chad Lepre, the Canadian, back in May.
Caught him with a check left hook that just about killed Lepre's. It was
Before
nasty.
that, he choked out Nike Pierce, a.k.a. Nico Price, in October of last year, so basically a year ago, via Darce choke. And the only loss in the last year and a half was to Leon Edwards via decision. Leon Edwards.
He also had that knockout over Bilal Muhammad, which caught everybody off guard, including myself.
Jalen Turner, the American, the tarantula, as you may call him. Wow, he's a big guy. He's 6'3". He's only 23 years old.
He's real big, real long too.
Kind of reminds me of a Curtis Melender as far as the size at that weight class.
Yeah, he's real slick. He works mostly behind a jab, or actually mostly behind a left straight and a left kick to the body.
Shouts out to
Basically
the
what his
ambulance,
entire
by the
fight
way.
was.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear them. Very loud.
That's right.
In the background. Sorry if you can hear that. If you can't, then ignore me
It's
and
all
cut
good.
this out. Anyways, Jalen Turner, you were saying? Sorry, I'll let you continue.
Oh, so Jalen Turner basically won his entire fight in Contender Series with a long left straight, a sharp left body kick, and a right hook. Just over and over again, banging those three home on Max Mustaki. And it was, he put a fucking beating on Mustaki.
Fucking broken foot doctor stoppage, Khabib.
And to be fair, he was getting battered that entire first round. The broken foot had nothing to do with it. They probably could have stopped that fight regardless of his foot. It was bad. He was beating the shit out of him.
Shouts out to the guy's name that I'll never be able to pronounce. Vitautas Sadauskas.
Oh, the guy that's just all
It
vowels.
looks like Vitautas Sadauskas, right? I mean, that'd
Sure.
be my guess, right?
Yeah.
Vitautas Sadauskas. Where the fuck is this guy from? I'm a guess it's gonna be fucking
He's
Greece.
fought some
Greece.
weird
That's my
named
guess.
dudes.
It's
Paradise
fucking Greece.
Valvasa.
Let's see. Greece? Please be right. Nope, way wrong. What country is this? If this even loads, the Tapology doesn't load for the flags, dude. What the
Jalen Turner?
No, Vitautas Sadauskas. I know Turner's an American. Look,
I have
I'm
no
literally
fucking
hovering over
idea.
the... Oh, what did that say? God damn it, I missed it.
Lithuania.
Lithuania, so...
Oh, by the way, Vitauta is 2-10 as a pro.
Holy shit, I just... Oh my god. Well...
King of the cage, man.
Good on you, brother, for keep on keeping on. I'll just say this. The only successful Lithuanian fighter, not by nationality, but at least by blood, is Rose Namajunas. So shouts out to Lithuania. And shouts out to Rose Namajunas. Anyhow, going back to this fight, I'm picking Vicente Luque based on veteran status, based on what he's done, based on he's been on tough, based on he's gotten shit done.
How do you see him taking it?
I think he's going to submit this guy.
What round?
I think round 2. Somewhere in the middle. I think
Second.
Turner will probably kind of clip him actually early. He'll just swing real wild. Something like that.
100%.
And he will. And Luque will get
Yeah,
hit pretty
Jalen-
hard. But he'll weather the storm. He'll take him down, grind him out. Round 2, Turner will be tired and he'll be like, alright, time to submit you. You know what I mean?
I could definitely see that. Yeah, 100% Jalen Turner's going to come out at like a fucking house on fire. He's going to throw a bunch of really long, hard left straights and left body kicks. I think he's going to get way too wild, though, and get clipped by Vicente Luque in like a long, extended exchange. And I think he's going to get put on his fucking face and ground and pounded out in the first. But I could easily see him either gassing or getting clubbed and subbed in the second, though, too. So... Yeah, I think I don't know why this seems like kind of a crazy matchup. I don't know why you would do this to poor Jalen Turner. Wow, these odds. Vincente Luque is a minus 825 and a plus 650 Jalen Turner.
Holy fuck.
I can't say I disagree with it.
Yeah. So this next fight, according to Dominic Cruz, he believes this division is shutting down.
I heard that.
But he thinks they're going to do Cejudo versus Dillashaw, and then they'll close this division. Although he's definitely still pulling for his rematch against Dillashaw, which, biased as I am, or biased as we are, we would love to see. Don't get us wrong.
Yep.
And I think that should happen next, even though technically he
I
doesn't
just want to
deserve
see
it.
Dom fight again.
What's up? Yeah, we just want to see him fight.
That's it.
And don't get me wrong, if I were to say who really does deserve that fight, I would say One Punch Man, a.k.a. Krillin, a.k.a. Marlon Moraes.
Yep.
He deserves that fight the most. After him, you'd say Rafael Sunsao, because he's just been kind of grinding it out. But the UFC is all about branding yourself, being popular, and Dominic Cruz is still one of the most popular bantamweights. So you know what I mean? So he still has that good shot, again, that title shot. Henry Cejudo, I feel like it's kind of looking on the outside in. Yes, he did defeat one of the best of all time in Mighty Mouse, and this whole division is kind of in flux. So here we are, Sergio Pettis versus Jussier Formiga. Yeah, this is an interesting fight. Last time we saw Sergio, he won a split decision over Joseph Benavidez.
Which I don't know how that's a split decision.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I did not watch this fight. I just remember people saying who won. So can you
fucked up?
So can
Joby won in the first round.
Okay, so can you? So how did this really go down? Who won this fight and how? I literally did not watch this fight.
I had it Pettis 2-1. I could see how some people could have given Joby won the second 2 rounds, but man, he fucked him up in the first round, dropped him bad, and had him worried the rest of the fight.
Was this when Benavidez looked like the real Slim Shady?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah, it was that fight.
Oh boy. So
and then Formiga looked real good against Ben 10 Win.
So this is the thing. I'll try to be unbiased as I can. I do have Formiga on contract in fantasy.
That's not a bad pick, because if he wins this, it's probably going to be via sub, and it's probably going to be pretty early.
And spoiler alert, that's my pick. So
fair enough.
I'll let you kind of break down. I'll let you be biased or unbiased how you think this will go, because I already just gave away my thoughts. And
well, yeah, go ahead and say what are so you said you have him by sub?
Yeah.
What round?
I'd say round 2. Because Pettis is going to piece him the fuck up, and then Formiga will be like, fuck that, and he'll just shoot very, very violently and frantically.
Yeah, I think that's what this comes down to, is whether or not he can close the distance and get the takedown. The thing I'm curious about, so Pettis looked on fucking fire against Joby Wan. His straight right hand counters and his jabs, especially like while every time Joseph tried to collapse the distance, he would just smash a right hand or a sharp jab right into his face. And everything was very sharp, and he kept his distance really well. And that's why I'm leaning towards Pettis, actually, by TKO in the second.
I like it.
He looked so fucking sharp. And the problem is Formiga to win this fight, I think, has to get Pettis down and has to get it to at least half guard. From there, I think he can definitely work like a head and arm triangle or get the back. But if he doesn't get down to at least a half guard, I think Pettis' full guard is decent enough and his scrambling ability is good enough that I think he's probably going to be able to survive on bottom. It's just if he gets his guard sliced through, then he's in deep, deep trouble. But the reason Formiga did so well against Ben 10 is because Ben 10 every time he tried to strike with Formiga, he would end up closing the distance too much and end up in the clinch every single fucking time. And eventually Formiga was able to get a body lock and get him to the ground, and then from there he just smashed through his guard, got the back, got the choke. So I'm gonna go Pettis by TKO in the second, but yeah, if he ends up on bottom, he's in big fucking trouble.
I like it.
And odds on this one, Pettis is a minus 155 to a plus 145. Jussier Formiga, that seems a little wide, but I could see why people are high on Pettis. He looked real good in his last fight, so we'll see.
So this next fight is intriguing to me, based on the size difference, or...
Oh, I thought it was because you were a creep.
What's up, because I'm a creep?
Yeah, I figured it was intriguing because you're a creep, like the rest of the internet.
Sure, yeah. How about this? I'll be like the rest of the internet, and I'll be a creep and saying I want to bang Michelle Waterson based on everyone's comments on YouTube saying her husband's mad at everyone. Sure, right? Like Reddit saying? Yeah, let's just get that out of the way. No, I'm intrigued by this because Waterson's kind of a known atom weight, and her last fight, she beat fucking Courtney Casey.
Did she?
But let me get, yeah. So,
because I think she lost that fight.
Granted, it was an interesting call by the judges. I
think she got fucked up for most of that fight, and
I
to be fair, she did well
too.
in the clinch and on top.
This fight, it's wait, what the fuck? Felice Herrig is 34. I didn't know that. Huh.
Yep. Yeah, she's been around for a while. She was on what is it, Fight Girls back in the day? Actually, they both were.
That's right. You know, I feel like this is actually one of the better fights on the card. When I think about it.
Could be pretty competitive.
I don't really know how I'm leaning though, man. I think I'm going Herrig on this one, and I don't... Fuck. I want to try to... I'm not going to lie. I kind of want to try to give my best kind of insight towards this. I know Waterson loves her teeps. She's a Jackson Wink. She loves shooting late after she connects with like a little kind of quick 1-2 combo on the outside. You know what I mean? Those outside punching after like the teep. They set up those combos, like they teep them, they disrupt the breathing, and they go in real quick with a 1-2, and then they back away again. You know what I mean? And they stick the outside in that karate stance. See what I'm saying? Like that's like her bread and butter.
They don't call her the karate hottie for nothing.
Herrig, if I remember, loves the clinch.
Yeah, super strong in the clinch.
She's a very physically strong woman.
Her boxing has gotten a lot better recently too.
I mean, if I just think in my head, I really just see Herrig just dumping Waterson most of the fight, just on her back, and just kind of ground and pound. And then after time.
So how you leaning?
I'm leaning Herrig for sure. I shouldn't say for sure, but I'm slightly leaning Herrig. If you were to say choose your fucking fight, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What method do you think?
A decision. Waterson's tough as nails. I think she'll kind of what do you fucking call it? My brain's not working. She'll endure. You know what I mean? There's a sports term I was looking for, but she'll endure. She'll survive it. She'll weather the storm. Whatever you want to call it.
I could see that. So yeah, I mean, Michelle looked good in the Courtney Casey fight, apart from getting dropped a handful of times. But she did work a really good jab and left high and like lead leg high kick. She also did real well in the clinch and on top. That's the problem for me though. Is number one, she kept getting clipped with long combos, which Felice Herrig in her last fight did really well at not just throwing one or two punches, but throwing two, like at least two, and a lot of times 3 or 4. Which I think could be trouble for Waterson. Also, Felice is very good in the clinch, which is where Waterson is one of those fighters that have a lot of trouble not collapsing the distance when they strike and ending up tied up in the clinch. So yeah, I think Felice Herrig gets her to the clinch, and from there, I think she's way too strong for Michelle. I think she ends up on top, and if she does end up on top, I think she probably TKOs her way into a sub on top. I'll say second round, but it could be first. I think Felice is just going to outmuscle her and be way too strong and way too dominant in the grappling. So I'm going Felice Herrig by sub. I'll say second, but I could see it happening in the first also.
Yeah, I like that call.
And the odds on that one, Wow. Felice Herrig is a minus 115 favorite to a plus 105 Michelle Watterson. So pretty close.
So this next fight, I'm hyped for this fight. Based
I'm morbidly hyped for this fight.
Based on the weigh-in, that was pretty fucking hilarious. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't. I saw a picture of Derek Lewis looking real svelte. That's
so he did his little primal scream. Drago, basically as you call him, had his little like Rusky hat on. He had a little snow cap. Derek and they both had their hands in their face, and Derek Lewis fucking shoved his hat off. And fucking Volkov shoved him really hard, and it looks like he actually tried to kind of punch him, and then Lewis just tried to charge at him, but there was like fucking 4 dudes holding him back. It was pretty funny.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So Volkov is 6'7", if I remember. He's tall. He's tall as shit.
Huge.
In their initial in the media day, dude, he towers over Derek Lewis, and that's kind of hard to do.
He towers over everybody.
Yeah, everybody not skyscraper, but again, he made Stefan Struve. Never mind, I don't want to mention that. That depresses me every fucking time because Stefan Struve has so much potential, but he doesn't give a fuck. God damn you.
But he can't fight like Volkov.
God damn the Dutch. Where's Boss Rutten when you need him to fucking show it? Never mind. You know I'm going with this, dude. I've said this so many fucking times. Sorry. Volkov is on a very impressive run. He's on a 6-fight win streak. He knocked the fuck out Fabricio Verdum. He knocked the fuck out Stefan Struve. He decisioned Roy Nelson, who has an insane chin. Yeah. Volkov, I would say, is the heavy favorite. Pun intended. Derek Lewis, yes, he, in quotes, beat Ngannou. And yes, I was at that fucking fight. And it was trash.
Oh, I forgot you were in the building.
I was in that. Yeah. At that point, I probably should have put my camera light on. That was really bad. And I'll just say this right now. I'm going to pick Volkov. I love Derek Lewis. I really do. And he's going to be swinging and banging. He's going to swing through the fucking fence. And yeah, can he knock out Volkov? Fuck yeah. Do I think he will? No. Volkov's a longer, lankier guy. I think he's going to jab him from the outside. And I think he's probably going to actually take down Derek Lewis, as crazy as that sounds. And then just stand back up. You know what I mean? Because that's what he did against Verdum. Yeah. He's like, fuck being in Verdum's guard. Stand the fuck up, bitch. And then Verdum's like, okay. And then he just clipped him, and then that was it. I think Volkov has just too much to offer. And the size disparity, yes, heavyweights can knock each other out. But in that weight class, when you're the bigger guy, lengthwise, that length can come to advantage if you know how to use it. Fucking Stefan Struve, you fuck. So, Jesus. I know, sorry, but see what I'm getting with this? If Stefan Struve knew how to use his length advantage, he beat Stipe for fucking crying out loud. Do you see what I'm saying? Like if you have that much of a length and reach advantage, and you're the same weight class, guess what? You can win via point fighting. You know, heavyweights can knock each other out, yes. But if you're Alexander Volkov, you have a very big advantage in this fight. And this is a very winnable fight for Volkov. Is this a winnable fight for Derek Lewis? Yes. He's explosive. He can get inside it, and he can get those uppercuts, and he can fucking just wing those wild hooks too. Yeah, he can clip Volkov hard. I'll be honest, I can't remember how good Volkov's chin is. You know. It's
pretty good. He survived Roy Nelson.
So that's why Volkov's my pick. As much as I want Derek Lewis to win with the American bias, I gotta go with Volkov in this. Where are you leaning?
How do you see Volkov taking?
I think he's gonna decision him. Derek Lewis is tough. I've never seen him get finished. And I don't think he does get finished. Ironically, I think the only heavyweight that can really finish Derek Lewis is probably like Stipe via wrestlefuck and like submission. Or
Mark Hunt finished him, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. He kneed him in the head. Yeah, and he tired him out. That's true. I was gonna say, ironically, I could see Ngannou finishing Lewis, but then again, we saw how that fight went. But I'm talking about just based on pure power. But
yeah, so I think this fight's gonna look a lot like Volkov versus Roy Nelson. I think Volkov is basically going to jab him and throw switch kicks to the body the entire time and fuck him up. I love Derek Lewis, but his pile of trash back prevents me from picking him in this fight.
That's right. That's
and yeah, I'm taking Volkov. I'm actually taking Volkov via TKO in the second. Mostly because I think he's going to work. Yeah, I think he's going to throw enough damage to the body that Derek Lewis has been known to be susceptible to body shots, and I think this is going to be a rough fight for him.
How about this?
So,
say Derek Lewis clips him, right? Knocks him out cold.
Yep. Super possible, especially with the Derek Lewis throws a mean overhand right, and that's how to take out a big dude.
Who is it? Sean Shelby? I don't know who does the fucking matchmaking anymore. I just say go ahead.
I think Sean Shelby.
I just say go ahead. Lewis versus Stipe. Fuck it. No, I'm serious. Just do it. At that point.
Nah, you can't do that to Stipe.
I know, but you know what I'm saying.
Stipe's only lost to Cormier.
I know, but you know what I'm saying though. Only because DC's fighting fucking Boric.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's yeah.
You just do it.
Stipe fucking kills.
Oh, he
Derek
does.
Lewis,
No,
though.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to say they're just feeding Stipe, but they are. You know, but it still gives Lewis that kind of excuse. Like, oh yeah, dude, you're fighting like basically arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's like, I'm down. You know, he's like, all right.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Cause Fabricio, I fucking don't like gay people. Verdum is out for like 2 more years, so fuck that guy.
Oh God.
So.
I mean, for so many reasons, including the fact that he was hanging out with Kadyrov this weekend.
Really?
So was Floyd Mayweather.
Wait, who else was?
Yeah. Floyd Mayweather.
Wait, Floyd. That.
Yeah. Everyone's a trash person in combat sports.
You know why? You know why Floyd is doing that though, right?
Because he got paid.
Besides
Same reason
that,
they all do.
It's because it affects Conor to some extent.
No fucking.
You don't think
way.
so? You don't think he's trying to?
No, it's 100% because he got paid fat bills, and he looked miserable the whole time he was there. It was
and see, you know what that makes ironic? He's like, I'll beat the fuck out of a woman, but at least let's protect gay. Never mind. There's morals to everything. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go there. You know what I mean?
Anyway, let's keep on moving on. So let's see. Volkov is a -155 favorite to a +145 Derek Lewis. That seems about right. So this next one.
We got. I was gonna make a gatekeeper joke, but I was gonna remember one gate, bro. So let's get that. So wait, who's the real gatekeeper at 205? Is it OSP or is it Jimmy Manuwa?
The entire division.
Besides that, who's? Never mind. So the real story is OSP being fed to Dominic Reyes, or is Dominic Reyes getting an opportunity?
I don't know.
Do you know I'm going with this though? Like I'm not even kidding.
I can never.
Because Dominic Reyes.
I can never pick OSP fights.
We've doubted this kid. I have. You have.
Have I?
Yeah, no, you doubted him last fight 100%. You went with Cannonier 100%. If I'm not.
Oh, I did. You're right. I had him over Kimball though.
Yes, you did. But like you're like Cannonier's gonna win this, and then like he was winning that fight,
yeah, he fucked
and then Dominic Reyes fucking shut his lights out. And then I remember I think I texted you like, dude, this kid's for real. Like, fuck.
Yeah. He beasted on Cannoneer.
This fight. So this is the thing. Ovince St. Preux, if I remember, is known for beating hot prospects.
He's known for beating everyone who you don't think he'll beat.
So he beat Tyson Pedro. He lost Latifi. He beat Anderson. He beat. Okay, well. The Okami fight.
Somehow
the Okami fight didn't happen.
Somehow he lost by standing guillotine to a dude like a foot shorter than him.
Wait, which fight was that?
Ilir Latifi is not. Oh, he's not that tall.
He's just wide. He's a wall. But yeah.
Yeah, but he's fucking. Ilir Latifi
he's a physical
5'8".
wrestler. I know.
OSP
like
is
6'2".
6'3", and he lost by standing guillotine somehow. OSP is the weirdest anomaly. I can never pick his fights.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck. You can hear my frustration.
Yeah. That's how I feel every time OSP fights.
You know what? I don't give a fuck, dude. You know what? I'm sitting on motherfucking hype train. I'm going Dominic Reyes TKO. Let's go. Round fucking 3. It's gonna be actually one of the fights tonight. Wow. So I'm not even kidding. It's gonna be a fucking banger. OSP is gonna yeah, I'm not even gonna describe it. That's just how it's gonna go, man. Dominic Reyes is gonna fucking finish that shit off when it's gonna be one of the fights tonight. That's it. That's all I got.
Man, yeah, I hope so. So I've got Reyes via KO in the first, which probably means OSP wins via Von Flue or some
that's
bullshit.
You're probably right. Only because he kills
But
prospects.
I don't know. Yeah. Reyes is a minus 230 favorite to a plus 210 OSP though, and that's crazy.
That's fucking stupid. If I were to favor
I guess
Reyes,
it's because
I'd say
Reyes
like
been steamrolling
minus like what
dudes.
120 and is he like minus 110, 105 or plus 105.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's all I have for that. I'm sorry for the lack of analyses.
I mean, good luck analyzing it, like trying to pick. Any
They're just
OSP
too.
fight.
It's
fucking
just too much
impossible.
Jekyll and Hyde for just OSP mostly. Dominic Reyes, we haven't really seen much of him, which is still true. I mean, he has decent stand up. He has a fucking gnarly left straight, which sends people on the mat. But yeah, I don't have enough to confidently I can't confidently say this is what's gonna happen and say it's you know what I'm trying to say. I'm still stumbling.
Yeah,
over
the
my
only
words.
thing that gives me pause in this fight is we haven't seen Reyes face a southpaw.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting. But other than that, I think Reyes probably steamrolled.
So this next fight is fantastic. For the matchup.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This is gonna be a really good fight. Don't dismiss Anthony Pettis. Dude, if you're a former champion, and do you know what? Tony Ferguson reminds me of Anthony Pettis. You know what I'm saying? Like a prime, there's kind of. He's more of like a wily kind of. I don't want to say he's a weirder Anthony Pettis. He's weirder, more unorthodox in his style of how he approaches his striking. It's kind of more unbalanced compared to.
Right. He's like the Salvador Dali version of Anthony Pettis.
Yeah. Last time we saw Ferguson, he submitted Kevin Lee. Yes, he was fighting with staph infection. Yes, he was fucking taking down Tony Ferguson. We know that. Kevin Lee's a very big lightweight, and he's a very physical, dominating fighter. And yes, he's one of the best lightweights in the world. Kevin Lee is a fucking physical specimen. Very talented fighter. And there are still big things ahead for him. And I still think he's probably a potential champion. He really is. He's only 26. So, I really do stick by that, by the way. I think Kevin Lee is going to be champion. If I were to guess, I'd say at 165. But then again, Dana and his lies says that's not going to happen. But you know what? He's lying, so it's going to happen. But yeah, if you were to ask me right now who's going to be 165 champ, Kevin Lee right now, 100%. Anyways, that's not important. Here's the fight. Tony Ferguson, former lightweight champion. I got to see this in person. This was a great fight. He submitted Michael Chiesa via triangle armbar in the beginning of the second round. The crowd was fucking hyped. It was great, dude, seeing fucking Anthony Pettis back. It was fun seeing him smiling again. You know what I mean? It's fun seeing him kind of be in that moment. Because if you're a former champion, you got to beat guys like Jim Miller, Charles Oliveira, Go Melendez, Benson Henderson, Cowboy Cerrone, you know what I mean? You've got and Jeremy Stevens, you've got those and Benson Henderson twice. You know what I mean? You've got those signature wins, man,
That's right. One of them with the Showtime kid.
Yeah, in the motherfucking WEC.
WEC 53.
Yeah, that's the highlight for the ages, dude. Like, everyone will think of that shit. You know what I mean? So you're in like MMA immortality for that. You really are. As goofy as that sounds. You know what I mean?
For sure. He was on a Wheaties box for fuck's sake.
Dude, that's fucking huge. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he was the McGregor in a sense that as far as like highlighting what MMA is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like them kind of trying to launch a certain fighter's persona. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he was definitely a poster boy back in the day.
He was the original poster boy at 155. So I've heard some people say this is almost like a trap fight for Ferguson, but mostly because he's coming off a fucking terrible knee injury. And when they say trap fight,
that's the big X factor.
They look at that Venata fight. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those where, and don't get me wrong, Ferguson is not overlooking Anthony Pettis. There is no fucking way he is overlooking this guy. He knows what Anthony Pettis brings to this fight. He knows Anthony Pettis' skill set. He's a Taekwondo specialist. He sticks to the outside. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if I recall correctly. He's comfortable off of his back. He's similar to Ferguson in those aspects with the Jiu-Jitsu. Excuse me. With the Jiu-Jitsu and the grappling, you know what I mean. The striking varies a little drastically. Ferguson's definitely more unorthodox and kind of he's almost an anomaly as far as how he kind of mixes up his striking. Dominic Cruz calls it a punch count, meaning you kind of you have more of a variety of punches and strikes in your routine in a round by round basis. Do you know what I'm saying? So instead of Tony Ferguson going like a jab straight hook, who'll be like jab straight Eminari roll, fuck you. You know what I mean? Or fucking flying knee. You know what I'm saying?
He's wild as
He's
shit.
He's insanely unpredictable. And if I look at Anthony Pettis' resume, the most unorthodox fighter he fought last, I would say
Michael Chiesa is pretty unorthodox.
he's unorthodox in the striking for sure. I want to say Max Holloway, but he's more of an inside fighter who's has very, very quick hands, has good uppercuts and good hooks. You know what I mean? And kind of sticks to that. Mm-hmm. Sticks with his jab. And he uses his hips more. He level changes with his hips, and he has very good off the center line with his head movement. You know what I mean? Holloway's one of those pure boxing fighters. You know what I mean? And that's not a good match for anyone, even at lightweight, because Holloway's pretty much a lightweight who just can make featherweight for now. I know. Yeah,
could make featherweight. We'll see how long.
Yeah, Pettis lost to Barboza. He lost to Eddie Alvarez, who wrestle-fucked him. Lost RDA. Yeah, I'll just say this. I'm picking Tony Ferguson. I think he even though he's been out, I think he just offers too many problems for someone like Pettis. Even though Pettis is still very skilled at that weight class and what he offers. I think this is definitely going to be more of a competitive fight for Ferguson. Not that Ferguson doesn't anticipate this, because he does, but I think this is the reason why Ferguson gets it done. And I think it's going to be a decision. I think he's going to stick to the outside, and he's going to piece the fuck up out of Pettis, and he'll actually put him on his back and get some good ground and pound in there. Actually, I really do think he will. I think he'll attack the legs, too.
I could definitely see that. Yeah, I'm going Ferguson as well. I'm actually taking him TKO, and I'll say second, could be third. I think Ferguson is Pettis. If you I just rewatched the fight he had against Chiesa. He was looking pretty tired in that second round before he finished Chiesa, and it was mostly because Chiesa was pushing a pace, and Ferguson pushes a way crazier pace than Chiesa does. So I like Ferguson via TKO in the second, either by stringing a long combo together and Pettis being tired, or by getting top control and just elbowing the shit out of him, which is super possible as well. So I'm going to take Ferguson. The only X factor is I don't know what he's going to look like coming back from that injury, especially since that was not that long ago that he had that surgery.
Pettis said, I am going to definitely attack his knee. No holds barred.
Yeah. So we will see how that plays out. But yeah, I got to go with Ferguson.
So can I guess the odds on this?
Go for it.
I'm going to guess minus 280 Ferguson.
Ooh, pretty close. Minus 325 Ferguson to a plus 295 Pettis. So yeah, pretty close.
Since we're about to cover the main event, so clearly Ferguson, if he wins, gets the next title shot. I mean, you have to. You got stripped your into. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, you have to, right?
Yeah.
You have to. No matter what.
If it's Khabib, I'm scared for that to get booked
and
again.
I think Dana knows this.
He even said
and
so.
We'll continue this now, as we're going to go to the main event, because I have more to talk about this, but it makes sense more if we go into this main event. So, this is it's being called the fight of the year, and I think that's fair at this point, based on the fucking lead-up.
Yeah.
And
it's being called one of the biggest fights ever.
Yeah, it potentially is the biggest fight ever, really. I mean, if you think about the biggest fights ever, it's what? A Jones versus DC fight, or it's... What comes to your mind real quick before we get into this? Is biggest fights ever. What are the more meaningful fights that you could think of? For me, both the Jones versus DC fights are up there.
Yeah, like Couture Liddell.
You can really argue Dillashaw versus Garbrandt, one of those two fights, because of the heated rivalry. Those are pretty big fights.
Yeah.
BJ Penn, Frankie Edgar rematch.
True.
Yeah, you know where we're going with this. There's a lot you can name. Junior Dos Santos versus Cain Velasquez, those two fights. Stipe versus Francis. You know what I mean? There's a lot of really big fights that people were hyped on. You know what I mean? This has to be up there, top 3. It really does. Granted, what Conor did with his whole Dolly incident back at UFC 223, me and you both goddamn knew well that they would use that promotional stuff. They did, 100%.
Yep.
So here we have it.
No shame in that. They have no shame.
So here's just a disclaimer. Generally, when it comes to striker versus grappler, I always will choose the grappler over the striker. However, we're going to get into this, and we'll present arguments from both sides, because that's how me and you do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, let's look at the current, and this is the thing, undisputed champion. Real quick, do you think Khabib is undisputed? In your honest opinion?
It depends on, by definition of the word, or by definition of the idea of undisputed champion.
Let's say both, because...
Well, the word undisputed means it can't be
how
disputed,
about by the
and
word?
obviously it can be disputed. Word. But that's the thing, is by the definition of the word undisputed.
No, he's not,
because obviously people can dispute it. But he won the belt. Clearly.
He won the belt. If you ask me who's the real champ, the only other person I would say is, I would argue, Tony Ferguson, because he won 10 fights in a row at that weight class
and never lost
his belt. His lineal belt. Conor McGregor, yes, he never lost the belt that he won. He did beat the lightweight champ that was Eddie Alvarez. That's a fact. Conor McGregor was a champion. However, he decided, I will not defend my belt. And then they're like, okay, it's gone. So yes.
No, he treated his belt like Ali Abdelaziz treats his kids.
Yeah. He's like,
straight
I'm gonna
abandoned
call
that
this
motherfucker.
belt Noah. That's it.
Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna fucking abandon it. Have some Propo 12.
Anyway. All right. So, how do you see this one going?
So,
everyone sees this going the same way, right? So, Conor has 12 minutes to knock out Khabib.
So, this is it. I bet so this is the thing. Someone at work, I bet them $50 that Khabib wins. That's it. It was a straight up bet. They wanted Conor. However, if someone told me, will you take $50 against me, I think Khabib's going to win, I would honestly literally bet $50 that Conor's going to win. I'm not even kidding. I think it's that close of a fight. I lean more... My official prediction right now, Khabib wins via Kimura, actually. That's my official prediction. He's going to submit McGregor in the 3rd round. In the 1st round, the key... So, let's see, the keys to victory, right? You're asking, well, then how's Conor going to win, Chris? Because clearly you said you would have taken $50 for him. So, McGregor wins. He's going to have a more forward-leaning stance. He's going to have a punch count, like Dominic Cruz is talking about. He's going to mix up his strikes. It's not going to be the typical left hook that he landed on Aldo, where it's coming in. Yes, Khabib is a very good pressure fighter. He swings wildly, amateurishly, as you may say, right? Which is not too much, of a far sight away from how Khabib really does strike. He has a very good jab. He's very fast. Khabib has a very quick jab, which I think will factor into this fight. However, McGregor, I really think, is going to utilize his uppercut. He's going to actually, I think, feint as well. Obviously, he's not going to shoot at Khabib. Fuck no. You know what I mean? We saw what happened last time Conor tried to feint and fucking shoot on someone, and that was Nate Diaz in their first fight. And that turned out terribly. The last time Conor fought a true grappler, I believe, was against Chad Mendes on, 2 weeks' notice?
Yep.
12 days' notice?
Well, Eddie Alvarez, but that
didn't turn out well. Eddie Alvarez abandoned his plan. I'm sorry. He abandoned his game plan, and he admitted that. So that didn't work out.
Well, he also just got his game plan shut the fuck down.
So,
by
and this is
wobbled a bunch.
That's the key to victory for McGregor. Can he scramble? If he can scramble well, and yes, McGregor I think is a fantastic athlete. I think he has a decent camp. I'm not gonna say a great camp because it's kind of more like you're the star of that camp, so I can't really say it's all around great. You know what I'm saying? I think McGregor, and I've always said this. I've always backed McGregor. McGregor, I still think is one of the top lightweights in the world. I really do. He's a fucking fantastic fighter. I think this is a winnable fight for him, but it really comes down to he has to catch Khabib Khabib with that uppercut. You know what I'm saying? He has to be able to keep that distance. Yes, he's a counter striker. Can he keep his distance back and really kind of anticipate those shots from Khabib? If he can time and get the timing down of Khabib changing levels and shooting in and catching with his uppercuts, it's his fight 100%. Especially if he catches Khabib early. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those fights where it's like, holy fuck, and then he's just like he's just literally sniping Khabib, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, and then it's just like, that's all she wrote, you know what I mean? But, however, the way I see it going, do I think he catches Khabib clean? Yes. Do I think he rocks him? Kind of. You know what I mean? I think Khabib's chin's a little underrated. Does he keep it up? Yes, he does. He kept it up during the Barboza fight. He caught a spinning heel kick clean on the fucking side of his neck. And I don't want to say it did phase him, but maybe that's adrenaline. You know, you look at the Ali Quinta fight. He got his chin up. He, in quotes, maybe ignored his corner. So, my official prediction is I think Khabib grinds him out. I think he gets the takedown early. Khabib's bread and butter is being on top. His top control, he feels like a 185-pounder, you know, according to Luke Rockhold, according to Daniel Cormier. His top pressure is just unrivaled, you know, even as Ben Askren, right? And I think what Chad Mendes did to McGregor 3 years ago, Khabib can do twice as good. I'm not saying Khabib's twice the wrestler as Chad Mendes. Because remember, American wrestling is a lot different than Sambo and typical top control from the Russian fighting style. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is Khabib is a physically stronger fighter than Chad Mendes. I just don't see McGregor being able to get off his back. And yes, even if he does, say, survive the first round or the second round, even the third round, he's going to be very, very tired. So how much power will McGregor have left to even hope to land on Khabib? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see it going very similarly. The real question is, can Conor put him out in the first two rounds? Yeah. Or maybe the first minute or two of the third. But by then, if it's going to the third round, odds are Conor's either thrown a ton of hard left hands and not put away Khabib, or he's been on his back eating shots. And I think either way, that's not going to be good for his cardio. Because he's not going to be able to turn and walk away like he did during the Nate Diaz fights. You can't do that to Khabib. He'll just run you down.
No, he'll be fucked. He'll literally be dumped on his ass.
One thing I do think though is I don't think the uppercut is going to help Conor much at all in this fight.
So how do you see it going?
Habib doesn't shoot. Well, Khabib doesn't shoot low singles, he'll sometimes shoot for singles, but not really go for doubles that much at all. I think Khabib's mostly it's gonna look a lot like the Michael Johnson fight where he tries to draw out. He throws a lot of feints and from way outside and tries to draw out strikes to Conor and then collapse back in after the punch comes back. The thing is, Conor's real good at framing with his right hand, so that's really what I think this comes down to is, can Conor clip him with a long left after he is able to frame Khabib off on a takedown and then turn over kind of like he did with Eddie a couple times? Or is he able to just catch Khabib straight? Does Khabib just leave his chin up and walk straight into something? If not, I think Khabib eventually works his way to the over-under clinch, and from there, Conor is on his ass.
And guess what Dominic Cruz said the keys to victory are? Of course, as you predicted, the underhooks. So
yeah, and especially if Khabib gets any kind of clinch, if he gets one underhook, Conor's fucked. Because his over-underhook game is really strong and his double underhook game is ridiculous. So I think that's what this comes down to. After watching a lot of footage, man, I am less confident than I was beforehand. Conor's real good at framing and he's real good at sniping from the outside, but I can't pick somebody with worse cardio, and I always lean towards the wrestler anyway. So yeah, I'm going Khabib TKO third, mainly, if for nothing else, off of cardio.
So here's the thing, I'm picking him as well. However, if Conor wins, right, this is the thing, this is the ironic thing.
I just hope this doesn't last 1 minute.
Oh, no, that's all I hope. Please, if Conor's going to win, can it be in the third or fourth round? I'm not even kidding. Please, if you're going to...
I don't even care. I just want at least 3 to 4 minutes.
That's all I want. Thank you. I'll just say this. If Conor wins or loses, I don't think anything really changes for him except for, say he loses, he's not the lightweight champion. However, since Dana lies, he's going to goddamn well fight someone at 165, which is probably Nate or GSP.
Gonna be, it's going to be GSP.
However, if he loses, right, it doesn't matter. He still fights at 165. See what I mean? If Khabib wins, it's got to be Tony if he wins. There's no one else. You just have to make that fight.
I think,
and what happens is
I think Dana
you just got to put him in fucking bubble wrap. Something like if they both made weight now, they're gonna fight. The stars are aligned. You know what I mean? And that at that point will be my most anticipated fight. You know, especially say fucking Tony Ferguson puts away Pettis and say Khabib murders Conor, right? Then it just shows these two motherfuckers are the baddest lightweights in the world. You know what I mean? And they just have to fucking fight. They just have to. You just have to do it. And then what also is cool is if they did 165, Kevin Lee can be like, oh fuck yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? And who wouldn't want to see Kevin Lee versus Conor? That'd be a cool fight too. You know what I mean? Not that they would make that, but I'd be down. Fuck yeah, dude. So
it'd be a lot of fun for sure. So yeah, man, I'm hyped for this card, and the odds on this, Khabib's actually the favorite still at minus 175 to plus 165 Conor.
I think those odds are fair.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm surprised that Conor's fans haven't bet that line down more, but it still got time. Tomorrow, I bet a lot of money is going to come in on Conor, so should be interesting, man. I am excited for the card tomorrow.
Yep, and I will be watching it with you.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We are going to be drinking Propa 12, even though it's garbage. Luckily, I still have some Jameson, too.
I won't say it's garbage because it's drinkable, but it's not good.
It's just very
It's not good,
bland.
but it's not garbage. Garbage to me is like you can't drink it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not garbage. It's just...
I don't know of a booze I can't drink, Chris. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, excuse me, Mr. Sober October.
Oh, well, I am drinking tomorrow, though.
Well, I know that.
I intentionally took the
I was
day
just fucking with
before
you because you're
October
saying
off,
the part that I can't drink, right?
Oh, well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, that'll be a lot of fun. Is there anything else you wanted to shout out before we wrap this bitch up?
No. I think that wraps up for me, too.
Cool, man. Well, we will be back. We might very well do a recap show next week. We probably will.
I forgot. Is there a card?
Like Monday or Tuesday or something?
This?
No, I believe we have 2 weeks off,
So
something like that. Here, let me pull this up.
Possibly?
Yes. Well, so we are going to be doing, I can't remember the name of the fucking movie with Tito and Chuck in it. But we're going to be doing a movie with Tito and Chuck in it. Yeah, the next card after this is October 27th. So we have 2 weeks off.
Please don't remind me when Tito and Chuck are fighting with, what's his face's promotion?
Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah, I believe that's right after the. I believe that's maybe the weekend of the 27th
Not
or
gonna
so.
lie,
Which is
I'm
why.
probably gonna watch that fight, unfortunately, because I'm a masochist. But it's all good.
Yeah, I haven't decided. I might watch it afterwards. We'll see. But I think we're on the 20th. We're gonna do a commentary with whatever movie it was that they were both.
We gotta,
in. I can't remember
we gotta
the name
get
off
my
the top of
brother in
head.
there, or we gotta find see if
Yeah,
G6
we'll have to do
is
that.
in town. We gotta, yeah.
Yeah, man, we'll make it happen.
Get a guest for sure.
Definitely. So look forward to that. Also, if you guys did not catch it on Wednesday, we put out our commentary for the movie Beatdown, which was, oh boy, it was a thing. We talked over it real fucking bad, and hopefully the sync isn't too bad because I had to edit that thing. I believe I got the sync queued up, but yeah, you might have to stop and start a couple times. That's right, Hank Hill was in it. Michael Bisping was great in it. So check that out. And we will be back probably early next week to do a recap of this UFC 229 card. But it's been fun, man, and I cannot wait to see this shit.
Yeah, it's yeah. Like you said, let's hope it lasts like 10 fucking minutes, please, dear God.
Fingers crossed. Well, until then, you guys can find us on Twitter, TSOV Pod. You can see us talking shit to Chuck Mendenhall, who's an asshole.
You know what? I need to chime in too. Now you mentioned I need to start fucking making some tweets. I know you're the master of that because you kind of have a general sense of what to tweet back. But you know, I'm obviously not gonna make us look like trolls. I'm not dumb, but you know what I mean. I'll put some stuff into context if it's appropriate. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I think we're leaving Chuck Mendenhall
alone. But you know
what
what I mean.
For now,
I'll let you know beforehand too, just because we're sharing it.
Yeah, I don't want to feed the salt, but for sure, yeah, Yeah, we're on Twitter a handful, so if you want to hit us up there, you can. You can send us an email at sovpod@gmail.com. If you guys leave us a review on iTunes, that is much appreciated.
Hell yeah.
It helps us in the rankings and helps people find the show. And go check out MMApodcast.com because it's dope. Oh, and don't miss Conor Rebush's live stream that he's doing for UFC 229. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we are going to wrap this here, everybody. So, till next time, enjoy 229. Go do something decadent. We out. Hey.